Chapter 896. Indeed, Jiangli wasn't dead. Even existences surpassing great emperors would die after being smashed by the myriad world's celestial sphere. However, he was even more terrifying than those existences, so he didn't die. In the air, Jiang Li's body wriggled. The ancient well of beings in his body shattered, but it created the conditions for him to merge further. From now on, the ancient well of beings would cease to exist. In its place, Jiang Li's body would possess the various abilities of the ancient well, becoming one with it. Apart from that, the wish pill in Jiang Li's body shattered as well. Even Yuanshi's qi was broken down into the 5 energies. The 5 qi's unifications majestically gathered together. Wish power, 5 energies rebirth. All beings gather, only I will not die. In the air, this voice resounded. Jiang Li had disappeared, but his voice was still there. Not good. That attack actually helped him. He's starting to merge with the ancient well. Even the wish pill and Yuanshi's qi are shattering and merging with each other. His cultivation base will increase greatly. Yuanshi's maid was shocked, but then she seemed to receive some sort of guidance. A smile appeared on her face. Is this Yuanshi's plan? Is that why his body is getting stronger and stronger? That's how his future plans work. Very good, very good. I'll just watch. As she spoke, the maid disappeared. No one knew where she was going. Wish power, 5 energies rebirth. All beings gather, only I will not die. A huge roar rang out, reverberating over and over again. The 5 elements, the 5 energies, the reversal of cultivation base, the reversal of space-time. Jiang Li's body reappeared. This time, his body was even stronger. It was the color of primal chaos, but it wasn't primal chaos. Rather, it was made of ancient stone. Or rather, it was made of the jade of fortune, God's stone, indestructible wood, and other characteristics. His infinite great Tao was filled with peak willpower. He was just a hair's breadth away from breaking through. He had also benefited greatly from this battle. At the very least, he had gained a better understanding of how powerful the River of Fate's attacks were. Furthermore, when the myriad world's celestial sphere had smashed him, the various treasures in his body had gathered. Greater mastery of infinite body. His current body was the true, limitless body. Buzz, Jiang Li's body wriggled and changed, and with another tremble, he finally reached the consummate level. His strength multiplied, and he was twice as strong as before the battle. The wish elixir in his body disappeared, and the wish qi that he had accumulated for a long time turned into a strange kind of aura after being smashed by the celestial sphere of the myriad worlds. It traveled through his meridians and gradually became stronger. Boundless true energy was changing, squirming nonstop. His entire body was transforming. Originally, Jiang Li's boundless true energy wasn't very strong. But now, the quality of his boundless true energy had risen by many realms. A single strand of true energy could transform into a boundless world without any problems. Moreover, Jiang Li could circulate his true qi at any time, and he could even conjure the Wish God pill. This was not an ordinary cultivation level. He could also summon the key to Yuanshi's treasure. Perhaps it would be more accurate to say that he himself was the key. Henceforth, unless someone killed him and assimilated him, they would never be able to take the key away from him. The key would become a part of his blood. Each of the 129,600 drops of blood in his body had a Wish God tree, and 5 colored energy streams could be seen swirling around them, all of which were illusory keys. The power of wishes filled every blood world. Furthermore, Jiang Li hadn't just assimilated the Wish God pill. He had used the Wish God pill to create the Wish fruit and the Wish God tree, and had absorbed the primal chaos palea energy to nourish them. As a result, he was brimming with the God power of wishes. Boundless wishes. Assimilating the Wish God pill wasn't a big deal. He could plant the Wish God pill in his blood and make the Wish God tree appear in every drop of blood. That was the true power of the Wish God tree. Furthermore, deep in Jiang Li's blood, beneath the Wish God tree, was the image of an ancient well, which emanated primal chaos palea energy that nourished the blood world and the wish god tree. The wish power of the wish god tree also adjusted the 5 energies of the keys. Everything was perfect. As Jiangli examined his body, his blood filled with wish power. As long as he continued to nourish the wish god tree, his boundless wishes would grow stronger and stronger. At that point, he would be able to create and destroy things with a single thought. Yuanshi's maidservant is nowhere to be seen. I have no idea where she's hiding. What a pity. I didn't get the 9 Suns world-annihilating emissary for number. Instead, she took them away to raise Wan Qianxiu and Xianyuan Permitha. With that, he stepped back into the world of men. Number had been anxiously waiting for Yang Qi to return empty-handed, and a look of disappointment could be seen on his face. In my name, I pray for the true sun to descend upon you. Jiangli nodded. His voice rang out like a great bell. Even as the words left his mouth, power surged out, the god power of will. Primal chaos, palea energy, surged out of Jiangli, wriggling and writhing as it transformed into a humanoid shape that looked exactly like the 9 Suns world exterminator. Then, it shot toward Number. That's the aura of the 9 Suns world-annihilating emissary. I can't believe you created it out of thin air. Unfortunately, this humanoid figure only has 1/100th of its strength. I saw the battle between you and Yuanshi's maidservant. I can't believe her cultivation base has reached such a terrifying level. Juju's expression was strange. I suspect that I'm Yuanshi's pawn. He's the one who created this strange body of mine. What do you think I should do? There's no need to doubt it. You and I are Yuanshi's pawns. However, I'm a pawn that's slowly leaping out of the chessboard and becoming independent. Jiangli said, Primal Chaos also treated you and me as chess pieces. Primal Chaos secretly injected a strange energy into the Divine Wish pill, but I managed to neutralize it just now. Instead, I used this energy to plant the Divine Wish tree in my bloodline. This tree is innately capable of fulfilling wishes and making all wishes come true. What a pity, my 9 Suns world-annihilating emissary. Count was still regretful. I lost the fat meat that was already in my mouth, but this is not a big deal. I saw that the woman was high and mighty, bossing you around, thinking that she was the ruler of heaven and earth. I think that killing her is the right choice. That woman needs to be killed. I've already figured out everything about her. She used the immortal magic lamp to attract Wan Qianxiu and Xianyuan Bian. In fact, she's plotting for the River of Destiny in Permitha. When the time comes, they'll all become the power for Yuanshi's resurrection. In fact, Yuanshi might not be a person, but a representative of a will. Jiangli said, All right, let's not talk so much. Although I lost the 9 Suns world-annihilating emissary, my strength improved very quickly. I can comprehend the 101 nomological laws at any time. At that time, I'll be able to transcend destiny. What should we do next? Dream Kite appeared. I saw the battle just now. I'm worried for you. After all, that's Yuanshi's maid. Yuanshi is plotting against me, and so is the Primal Chaos. This is a good thing. I can find a balance between them to break through. Jiangli said, Just now, I actually used the power of the Primal Chaos to resist the attack of Yuanshi's myriad world celestial sphere. As he spoke, he smiled. I remember that I used to condense the projection of the myriad world celestial sphere to smash others. I didn't expect to be smashed by others today. I really don't understand. The human world is still expanding. Permitha is about to arrive. The River of Destiny is also boiling. The Primal Chaos is producing more and more world-annihilating emissaries. The heavenly realm of justice is also revolving faster. The three-dimensional universe is reincarnating. All of this is disadvantageous to us. Hong Heiyu appeared. Very good. Jiangli knew the drawbacks of the various forces in front of him and how threatening they were to the human world. Next, the first thing to do is to refine the blood world. I'm now the son of the blood world. Refining the blood world is almost reasonable. Now, all the humans in the human world have set up a great formation to communicate with the blood world, especially those who have broken the curse. They have endless deterrent power to the myriad worlds. Jiangli roared. His will penetrated the human world. After a series of changes, his control over the human world was once again strengthened. Although the entire human world paid particular attention to the freedom of the soul, it must be established on the basis that it was beneficial to the world. If it was not beneficial to the world and was harmful instead, then that kind of freedom must be eliminated. In an instant, all the people in the human world began to spin, chant, and communicate with the blood world. At this moment, Jiangli didn't need to enter the blood world himself to collect it. He could activate the power of the human world in the depths of the human world and fuse with the blood world. This was also the terrifying thing about the Yuanshe bloodline of the humans on Earth. This was also the reason why the myriad worlds feared the human world like a tiger. Jiangli knew that this time, although it seemed like he was happy to collect the blood world, in reality, it made the myriad worlds even more wary of the human world. They might even unite to fight against the human world. But it didn't matter. He couldn't give up on the development of the human world just because of the wariness of the myriad worlds. Moreover, he wasn't collecting the blood world to kill, but to accept the living beings in the blood world. The demons in the blood world would be eliminated one by one. But the blood immortals who maintained order and principles, as well as kind-hearted cultivators, would receive greater benefits. This was also what the heaven's will of the blood world was happy to see. The heaven's will of the blood world wouldn't resist. It was very likely that this was also the heaven's will of the blood world's will. In the depths of the huge space-time turbulence, the blood world floated in the air. It looked like a drop of blood. The human world and the blood world were very far apart. However, a ray of light turned into a long river of infinite divine incantations, rushing out from the human world. It was even bigger than the blood world. It circled around the blood world and turned into a huge dragon. This dragon opened its mouth, as if it wanted to devour the blood world. The demons in the blood world were panicking. One could even see the blood world's sovereign roaring, trying his best to resist. The human world is going crazy. At this moment, in a mysterious place, Yuanshe's maid, Wan Qinxiu, and Xianyuan Bian once again entered the everlit divine lamp. The everlit divine lamp didn't exist, and even those who surpassed the sovereign realm wouldn't be able to discover its secrets. Wan Qinxiu and Xianyuan Bian were absorbing the Nine Suns World Annihilation Envoy. Chapter 897. The Nine Suns emissary let out a miserable shriek, which was then split between Wan Qinxiu and Xianyuan Bian. Each of them took half of the vital energy, and as they breathed in and out, the seeds of truth grew inside of them. Wan Qinxiu breathed in and out, and the power of the river of fate poured into him, causing the deathless god lamp to tremble violently. Xianyuan Byron murmured an incantation, causing the image of Permitha on the 99-story ship to appear behind him. Right now, Permitha is being controlled by D, Gluttony, and Luo, the maidservant said. Each of them has passed at least 3 cycles of reincarnation, making it impossible for you to return to Permitha. Although you own Permitha, those 3 old-timers control it. If you want to become the true Lord of Permitha, you'll need to work on your cultivation and find the right to do so. Then what do I do? Xianyuan Byron said, his expression fiendish. I've formed my own faction, and my cultivation base is on the verge of surpassing the Grand Emperor level. All I have to do is devour the essence of time, summon it, and absorb it to become the overlord. D, Gluttony, and Luo are ambitious, Wan Qinxiu said. They want to unify the many heavens and form their own true will to fight against primal chaos. Fate tells me that they're our enemies. That's right, they're our biggest enemies. Unfortunately, the Lord of Mankind has reached a point where he won't be easy to kill. I tried to suppress him, but failed. Instead, he reached the level of the unbounded body. Once he's prepared, he'll be able to transform the great Tao of infinity into 101 magical laws. When that happens, he'll be able to use the ancient well inside of him to summon more ancient energy and extract the essence of the river of time. That way, he won't even need to use the Undying Sutra. The maidservant was calculating Jiang Li's cultivation progress. It was true that primal chaos paleo energy could create anything. As long as you had enough primal chaos paleo energy, it wouldn't be impossible for you to recreate the good fortune jade disc. In fact, it was even possible to create another Permitha. The River of Time had been created after the primal chaos explosion. Because of that, Jiang Li could summon the essence of the River of Time from the depths of primal chaos. With his current strength, it was still not enough. However, after condensing the infinite Great Tao into 101 nomological laws, it was completely possible. At that time, no one knew how strong he would become. He's collecting the blood world. Wan Xinshu gazed into the distance, only to see the boundless river of the human world enveloping the blood world. The blood world didn't stop it, nor did it try to destroy itself. Instead, it happily started to fuse with the blood world, transforming into a blood-colored mist. In the blood world, the devils panicked, but under the great power of the human world, the only outcome for those devils was death. Demons and blood devils were not needed in the human world. They had to be captured and sacrificed to the origin. Only then could the human world maintain its peace and clarity. At the same time, to the blood world's heaven's will, those demons were like cancerous tumors. Now that it was surrounded by the human world, killing those demons was equivalent to performing a large-scale surgery on it. Not only would it remove the cancerous tumors, it would also allow it to shine with a new luster. As expected, the originally decadent blood world. As the demons were continuously refined and sacrificed, the poisonous gas and resentment were cleansed. A resplendent red light actually appeared in the blood world. Originally, from the void, that drop of blood in the blood world was rotten and had a pungent stench, almost similar to the netherworld. But now, it was radiant and fragrant, changing from an evil world to a righteous world. The blood world had actually become a pure origin world. That pure blood energy caused all the experts in the various heavens to salivate. But this drop of blood was about to fuse with the human world. If the supreme ancient immortal realms wanted to forcefully collect the blood world's heavens would retaliate. Even if the world was destroyed, it wouldn't hesitate. The entire blood world would retaliate. At that time, even the 3 paragons of the Permithal world would find it hard to bear. But now, Jiang Li was equivalent to the son of the blood world. He inherited the blood world's will and wanted to set the blood world right. This was something the blood world's heavens wouldn't resist at all. What was even more mysterious was that although the emissary of annihilation devoured the son of the blood world, and Jiang Li killed the emissary of annihilation, from a certain perspective, Jiang Li was the true son of the blood world. Perhaps this was the fate of the unseen. The various heavens were all shaken. They were all watching the changes in the human world and blood world. This was because this was something that had never happened before. A great cosmos devouring another great cosmos, and the devouring went so smoothly. The human world becoming a great cosmos was a huge matter in itself. All the experts knew that this was a great existence comparable to the celestial world. In the future, it would become the leader of the various heavens. And the blood world was an old, great cosmos with a strong origin. Although it was chaotic and order had fallen, it still didn't decline. It was practically the number 1 evil world after the demon world. Such a powerful universe was actually being devoured and refined by the human world. Then what kind of realm would the origin of the human world expand to? Rumble. At this moment, a huge hand broke through the air from beyond the sky. It didn't come from the physical world, but from the depths of the void outside the physical world. This huge hand directly grabbed at the great cosmos of the blood world. It seemed like it wanted to absorb the entire blood world into it and prevent the human world from obtaining it. A mighty person from the Nirvana realm. Jiang Li looked at it and knew that it was a mighty person from the Nirvana realm. It might even be one of Di, Ho, or Luo. The huge hand came with great ferocity. Even Jiang Li, whose cultivation had skyrocketed, couldn't resist it. However, Zhongli had long known that refining the blood world and merging it with the human world would cause too great of a commotion. He would definitely encounter a catastrophe. Good. He had long been prepared. The human world, upgrade again. 50 million humans, break the curse. Bang, 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 bang. In the human world, sounds rose and fell one after another. That was the other humans on Earth. They broke the curse again and transformed into the myriad world body, the bloodline of Yuan Shi. No, they didn't have the bloodline of Yuan Shi, but rather the bloodline of limitless great Taoists and limitless true energy. Limitless great Taoists didn't just have the power of Yuan Shi. They also had the abilities of the Heavenly Father, the Child of Destiny, and the Child of Nirvana. They were unique to Zhongli. In the human world, everyone's potential was limitless. Originally, there had been more than 20 million people who had broken the curse. Now, Zhongli had broken the curse of another 20 million people. That meant that there were now 50 million people who could rise to the position of hegemon. His aura was majestic and shocking. Now that the mortal world was a universe, it could absorb the power of the true void hometown and store up enough resources to support the breakthroughs of 50 million cultivators. Furthermore, Juju had set up altars to absorb primal chaos palea energy to support the mortal world. In addition to that, every time Zhongli fought, he would absorb power and convert it into ancient energy. When he fought the Grand Emperor's attacks had shattered the starry sky. That power had been shocking and had been used to power the human world. Now that the hand was closing in, the myriad worlds were trembling, and the universe itself was about to be torn apart. But Zhongli had unleashed the potential of the human world, and his power had increased dramatically. He had also transformed into the hand of the limitless mortal world. This hand shot out and collided with the giant hand at lightning speed. However, there were no shockwaves. The attack power of the giant hand from the other side was completely absorbed by Zhongli. In the depths of the human world, another altar appeared. It was high up in the sky, and in the depths of it was an ancient well, which constantly spewed out primal chaos palea energy. It was like an ocean of primal chaos. That was the result of the clash between the power of Zhongli and the almighty Nirvana expert. How ferocious was that mighty person from the Nirvana realm? In a single strike, he could almost evolve a middle-level universe. If he fought with Zhongli, how much nourishment could the energy be absorbed? Bring it on. Bring it on. Zhongli could see the almighty Nirvana expert in the depths of his eyes. However, he wasn't afraid. In the human world, the stronger the opponent, the stronger the human world. The human world doesn't fear any kind of attack. I'll destroy everything indiscriminately. If you push me too far, I'll open all of the seals in the human world and devour all worlds. Then I'll sweep across the many heavens and make Nirvana tremble in fear. Rumble. The hand slammed down again, this time with incredible power. Open the curse again. 50 million. Zhongli made up his mind. He had to get the blood world, and if he let Nirvana take it, the human world wouldn't be able to gain anything. Another 50 million humans from Earth had their curses removed, and they rose up to absorb the boundless power. Zhongli's jade blood loyal heart was on the limitless river, and he was virtually invincible against the hand of Nirvana. The primal chaos, palea energy created by the hand, was like an ocean in the mortal world. Normally speaking, it would cause the entire mortal world to explode. However, there were 100 million people in the human world who had awakened their bloodlines, and all of them were like ravenous gluttons who wanted to absorb energy. How could they let something like primal chaos, palea energy go? Therefore, no matter how the hand attacked, it was helping the bodies of the 100 million people who had awakened their bloodlines. If the almighty Nirvana expert continued to attack, he would be a saint who didn't care about himself at all. Apparently, the almighty Nirvana expert was aware of this, and the hand vanished without a trace. The more powerful the attack, the more likely it was that Zhongli would fight to the death. If he broke the curse, the trillions of humans in the human world would all become experts, and even the Nirvana experts wouldn't be able to withstand it. Therefore, they couldn't push things too far. If it weren't for the fact that the human world had such a deadly weapon, Jiangli would most likely have been killed. Of course, the awakening of 100 million people in the human world was extremely brutal, and the amount of energy they needed to absorb was growing larger. Thankfully, the blood world would be able to hold out for a while longer, and when the time came for the primal chaos tribulation to descend, it wouldn't be a big deal. The tribulation is over. Everyone, get into position and prepare for the arrival of the blood world. Jiangli let out a thunderous voice. The tens of millions of earthlings that he had promoted had all passed his test. They were not ambitious people or people with evil intentions, but people who were loyal and could sacrifice their lives for the human world at any time. They were people who were the same as him. Under his control, the entire blood world descended upon the world. Chapter 898. The blood realm descended and fused with the human realm. All the devils in the depths of the blood realm were eliminated, and the number of living beings immediately became sparse. The righteous blood immortals were preserved. Those blood immortals were usually bullied by the blood devils, so they hid in their shell and lived in constant fear. They almost ended up being devoured, but they still persevered, lest the entire blood realm was demonized. However, even the great emperors of the blood immortals felt that the demonization of the blood world couldn't be stopped. The fall of the blood world was unavoidable. Therefore, they were hopeless and pessimistic. They couldn't persevere. But today, their perseverance finally ushered in hope. The human world descended. In an instant, a majestic power invaded the blood world. All the demons exploded in an instant, turning into a sacrificial power that became the source of the blood world. The demons had been corrupted by the blood world for many years. Now it was finally gone. The blood immortals' eyes were brimming with tears. The end of their despair was actually the beginning of hope. All the demons died. Even some of the fierce-looking blood demon emperors collapsed and died without any suspense. The demonic chi of the blood world was all absorbed, turning into nourishment and food. One must know that the human world had merged with the ancestors' immortal devil vine. It could absorb immortal chi to become a celestial world. It could also absorb demonic chi to become a demon world. After the demonic chi was absorbed, all that was left was immortal chi. It merged with the human world. At first, the human world was faintly red, but as it absorbed more and more, even the red color disappeared. After the human world merged with the blood world, it was still the human world. There were no changes at all. The blood immortals became residents of a human world. However, in the eyes of many powerful beings, the change in the human world was too great. It was majestic like a flying dragon in the sky, a supreme being. At this moment, the human world seemed to be comparable to the celestial world. In the ocean of space-time turbulence, the human world and the celestial world reflected each other. They were like twin stars, shining brightly. Huff! Jiangli let out a long sigh. The blood world merged with the human world unscathed. Both sides benefited. It was a win-win situation. He could even feel the blood world's heavenly will's approval. He had helped the blood world get rid of the tumor. As the son of the blood realm, his merits were boundless. All of the karmic merit from saving the blood world landed on him, causing his cultivation base to rise again. Blood-colored magical symbols appeared in the depths of the 129,600 drops of blood in his body. Each drop of blood was karmic merit blood, body of merit. His luck increased greatly. Meanwhile, the interior of the human realm expanded by several times. Space was created, and large tracts of fertile land were created. It was extremely suitable for humans to live in. Jiangli himself was the creator of the human world. The more the human world expanded, the more powerful his strength became. In the current era, fighting alone was already outdated. It was all battles between universes. The human realm had already become a terrifying power comparable to the immortal realm. Most importantly, the number of talents they had was the best in the myriad worlds. Even the Nirvana realm couldn't compare to them, let alone the brain of the universe and the immortal tower. Now, Jiang Li's eyes suddenly moved, and he looked at these two star fields. At this moment, Dream Kite stood side by side with him. Jiang Li, the human realm is almost comparable to the immortal realm, but there are still many things we need to do. I think we should start with the weak ones and subdue the brain of the universe and the immortal tower first. What do you think? Wait, he quickly said. I'm completely surrendering now so that one day I don't want to settle the score with the brain of the universe. I know that the human realm now has the power of heaven and earth, and everything will belong to the human realm in the future. I hope I can persuade my mother to hand over everything and join the human realm to get through the great calamity. What do you think? I don't want to die together. All right, Jiangli nodded, but I don't know what Wang Chao's plan is. I can't communicate with him anymore. Since the brain of the universe has surrendered to number, then our main target now is the immortal tower's star field. We'll cooperate with the ancestor of martial arts Ba, Liming, and break the situation in one fell swoop. In the past, the master of the immortal tower's star field was very strong, but to us now, it's nothing. Dream Kite said, rescuing Ba Liming and destroying this star field is the top priority. Actually, the righteous heaven realm is also our enemy, but the fusion of the four realms still needs some time. We're not in a hurry. Plus, with the 3D universe's heavens while messing around there, we can't win. Indeed, if I want to eliminate them, the first thing I'll do is to eliminate the righteous heaven realm's Jiang Nalan, Great Dream Crown Prince, and the others. But I don't know what the 3D universe's heavens will is thinking, and it's always going against me. Since that's the case, I'll just treat it as an enemy, Jiang Li said. That's the scary part. We don't know what it's thinking. If we attack the immortal tower's star field and we're stopped by it, it'll be a huge loss. Dream Kite was at her wit's end. The easiest one to deal with is still Yuanshir's maid. She's alone, and she's just the immortal magic lamp. But now, she's hidden, and we can't find her no matter what. I've observed the sky, and indeed, I can't find her. Jiang Li looked around again, but he didn't find any movement. He couldn't help but frown. If I don't find her, she'll be a thorn in my side. After all, she's Yuanshir's chess piece, and she has many ways to deal with me. She can even summon the myriad world, celestial sphere. If I'm suddenly attacked during an intense battle, I'll really die without a burial place. No matter what, the human realm still needs experts to suppress it. Since the ancestor of martial arts Ba, Liming, has appeared, he might be able to understand some of the secrets of the three-dimensional universe's heaven's will. After all, Ba Liming knows a lot of things. He might not be suppressed now, and he might be scheming, waiting for an opportunity to seize the fate, Dream Kite said. Ba Liming's rescue operation is indeed the first priority. Let's do it now, Jiang Li said. Actually, there's no need to use the human realm's power. I can do it now. As he spoke, he took a step out. With just a simple step, he arrived outside the star field of the immortal tower. The entire star field seemed boundless to him in the past, but now it was nothing. As expected, as his cultivation increased, his worldview was also undergoing a fundamental change. In the star field of the immortal tower, countless worlds were gathered together, forming layers of towers. Many people were still living in an orderly manner. Jiang Li didn't want a war to break out here, because if he forcefully charged in, the people would definitely be plunged into misery and suffering. He wouldn't be lenient in killing demons without order, because they were the ones who destroyed the stability of the universe's material world. They wouldn't be of any help to the arrival of the great chaos calamity, but would instead cause great harm. Anyone who destroyed the order could be called a demon. Only when the order was truly established could they fight against the chaos. The chaos emissary of destruction sent by the chaos would also disrupt the order. There were many humans in the star field of the immortal tower, and there were many different kinds of living beings. If they were gathered and brought into the human realm would be twice as strong. To catch bandits, one must first catch the ringleader. Jiang Li didn't intend to destroy the star field, but to enter the brand new universe directly and capture the master of the immortal tower together with Ba Liming. As long as the master was captured, the situation would be settled in an instant. He was still very confident in capturing the master of the Immortal Tower. After entering this star field many times, he already knew the master's strength like the back of his hand. He was alone, without any help. At this moment, the defense of the Immortal Tower's star field was very strong, but to him, it was practically non-existent. He turned into an invisible existence, and with a slight flicker, he arrived at the depths of the star field. He saw the Great Tomb and the brand new universe. The Great Tomb had almost been swallowed into the new universe. Ba Liming's aura was also nowhere to be seen, as if he had been completely refined. However, Zhongli knew that Ba Liming definitely wouldn't be destroyed so easily. He might even have the upper hand, and was closely related to Wang Chao. They could exchange information and turn the tables in one fell swoop. Great Tomb absorb. Jiang Li's body suddenly appeared in the center, and he grabbed the air. The entire Great Tomb was grabbed out, and it shrunk rapidly before falling into his palm. Instantly, the entire star field of the Immortal Tower shook. Damn it, it's you again, the master of the human realm. You've ruined my plans time and time again. What are you trying to do? The voice came from the new universe, and a pagoda was faintly discernible. The angry voice of the master of the Immortal Tower could be heard. You've imprisoned the ancestor of martial arts in the human realm. Of course, I'm here to rescue him. Master of the Immortal Tower, I'll give you a chance now. Surrender to the human realm and hand over the good fortune jade disc, and I can still fight alongside you against the chaos. If you don't agree, I can only seal your star field. Do you believe that I have the strength to do so? Although you've gone through the great reincarnation tribulation once, and your strength far exceeds other experts of the same age as heaven and earth, I'm still stronger than you. Zhongli was speaking the truth. The ancient well of all beings had also experienced the great explosion, and it was equivalent to going through a reincarnation cycle. Subsequently, he swallowed the Wish God pill and had many fortuitous encounters. He had even absorbed half of the Heavenly Father's blood, and they had transformed into each other. At his current realm, he could surpass destiny at any time. How could the master of the Immortal Tower compare to the intensity of his luck? Huh? The master of the Immortal Tower laughed, and his burly body appeared in front of Zhongli. Master of the human realm, you're really too arrogant. I know all your secrets now, and we know your strength like the back of our hands. Perhaps you've forgotten that the Immortal Tower and the brain of the universe have signed an agreement with the will of the three-dimensional universe. It's the existence that regulates the yin and yang of the three-dimensional universe. How can the will of the three-dimensional universe allow you to break us? In fact, Wang Chao, Ba Liming's imprisonment, is also the will of the three-dimensional universe. Going against us is the same as going against it. I advise you to leave as soon as possible, lest you end up being suppressed. It's not a wise choice for you to provoke its bottom line time and time again. Is that so? Zhongli knew that the will of the three-dimensional universe would definitely stop him, but he didn't believe it. Chapter 899. Zhongli, do it. Just do it. The middle-aged man didn't seem afraid at all. Actually, you can absorb the power of all attacks and turn them into chaotic paleo-chi. I already knew that when you were refining the blood world, the powerful nirvana cultivators attacked you, but you neutralized all their power. In the end, they had no choice but to retreat. But if you attack me now, it'll be the same. I can absorb your power to refine the ancestor of martial arts, Ba Liming. Master of the Immortal Tower, you seem very confident. Zhongli looked around, trying to see through the new universe. The Great Tomb was already in his hands, but there seemed to be a power that couldn't be refined in the depths of the tomb. It was so heavy that he couldn't use it for now. You're already weaker than me. The third dimension universes might not protect you. You see my many battles. I took back control of the immortal world, fought against the Heavenly Father's pawns, and killed nirvana cultivators who surpassed the great Emperor Jia. Those who oppose me never end well. Zhongli didn't act rashly. Instead, he saw that the third dimension universes had left something behind that made the master of the Immortal Tower unafraid. You're afraid. Seeing that Jiangli wasn't moving, the master of the immortal tower laughed. Let's go. Let's go. We'll live in peace and wait for the calamity to come. Or you can start searching for Yuanshir's treasure. The third dimension universes isn't something you can compare to. Is that so? Then I'll take back the Fate Jade disc. It originally belonged to the immortal world. You stole it. Now that so many years have passed, it should be returned to its rightful owner. Jiangli decided to start with the Fate Jade disc. His divine will instantly connected to the immortal world and reached the throne of creation in the heavenly court. The throne of creation had a new owner. It was the rightful son of the immortal world, Luo Feng. Next to Luo Feng stood the great emperors. They were the hidden great emperors of the immortal world. Now, they belonged to the heavenly court and were in charge. There was a female great emperor called the Phantom Flying Star. There was also an old great emperor called the Great Emperor of all laws with a thought. There was also a middle-aged great emperor called the Universe Devouring Great Emperor. There was also a young boy called the Everlasting Unaging Great Emperor. The four emperors were experts who had been living in seclusion for a long time. When they heard that the son of the immortal world was going to make a name for himself, they immediately came here to help him. Whoosh! Luo Feng stood up from the throne of creation, activated the cyclic mirror, and saw the situation of the immortal tower in the three-dimensional universe. Jiang Li's projection also appeared in the immortal world. Everyone, the master of the human world, has arrived at the immortal tower's star field. He's going to suppress the master of the immortal tower with his supreme divine ability and take back the yang side of the good fortune jade disc for us. Now, let's gather our hearts and pray for good fortune to summon the jade disc. Have all the sacrifices been prepared? Remember, don't hold a chaos ritual. Instead, hold a great ritual to worship the heavenly court, the essence of the immortal world. This will greatly increase the attraction of the heavenly court to the jade disc of good fortune. This will create the conditions for our return, Luo Feng ordered. Yes. The Phantom Flying Star Emperor, the 10,000 Laws Emperor with a thought, the Universe Devouring Great Emperor, and the Eternal Spring Immortal Emperor had all made their voices. This time, as long as the good fortune jade disc of good fortune returns, the immortal world will be revived. The everlasting eternal emperor was like a child, but his words were very mature. Although the great dream crown prince isn't the legitimate one, he has done some good things, such as integrating the sects, eliminating the dissidents, killing the world destroyer envoys, and rebuilding the heavenly court. Now that we have accepted his resources, there are many things to do, and we have a good foundation. Are the sects that originally submitted to the great dream crown prince now sincerely submitting to the new heavenly court? Luo Feng asked. The Phantom Meteor Emperor, you are the one who gathered the hearts of the people. What do you think of the attitudes of the experts of the sects when you talk to them? Their attitudes are very good, because you are the son of the immortal world, the legitimate one. Deep down, the great dream crown prince still doesn't treat the people of the immortal world as his own. When necessary, he will devour all of them to fulfill his wish. No one is a fool, and they all know what the great dream crown prince is thinking. Now, the hearts of the people are united. The Phantom Meteor Emperor said, I will go down now and assign tasks. Everything will be learned from the system of the human world. Although the immortal world is united compared to the blood of the human world, it is simply too inferior. The master of the human world, Jiang Li, has already begun to spread the ideas of infinite true meaning, soul freedom, and absolute order. The human world has merged with the blood world, and now it is comparable to the immortal world. Although its origin is not as strong as that of the immortal world, it is still growing. After the appearance of Yuanshir's treasure, it is only natural for it to surpass the immortal world. Luo Feng said, the immortal world's heaven is also gradually acknowledging this fact. Under the persuasion of the master of the human world, it is preparing to start a world-shaking fusion with the human world, turning it into the mortal world. It will sweep through all worlds, using everything as the mortal world, and the heaven and earth as the human world. We understand. This is the big goal, the final plan. Everything we do will be for the fusion of the two worlds and the establishment of a mortal world. The four great emperors nodded. In that case, let's start the summoning. Summon the good fortune jade plate. Luo Feng gave the order. Her identity was the legitimate one, and she was the great emperor with the help of the human world. Her foundation was deep, and her prestige was even stronger than that of the Heart Emperor. The moment the order was given, the countless grotto heavens and even the most secret places in the immortal world heard the heaven will. This was something even the Heart Emperor could not do. But Luo Feng could, because she was speaking on behalf of the immortal world's heaven will. Naturally, her words could be spread to every corner of the immortal world. The immortal world was so huge that even those who surpassed the great emperors could not spread their will to every corner in an instant. Only the heaven will could do it. Many grotto heavens and sects received Luo Feng's will from the heavenly court. They knew what she wanted to do and immediately started praying. The hearts of the people gathered and the world changed. Rumble. The hearts of the entire immortal world gathered into power and turned into a river. However, it was a fake river that could not be stored in the void. It was similar to the fake wisdom river. This was the immortal Tao river. What was the immortal Tao? It was a peaceful, carefree attitude. There were no tribulations, no suffering, only wind, white clouds, cranes, and white deer. The sea and sky were the same color, and the green water and blue sky. In the mortal world, those who pursued the immortal Tao had such a mentality. When the will of all those who pursued the immortal Tao gathered together, it would become the immortal Tao river. Unfortunately, even the Heart Emperor could not gather such a river and store in the void. It was not that he did not have the ability, but that he did not want to store it and strengthen the immortal world. Now, the immortal Tao river had gathered and rushed down to the third universe, reaching the immortal tower's planetary region. It wanted to bring the good fortune jade plate back. The changes of the heavenly Tao, the glory of the sun and moon, the change of yin and yang, the sect of the five elements. Jiang Li sensed the changes in the immortal world. Her body released the infinity mantra, merging into the depths of the immortal Tao river. Immediately, the infinity river expanded again. The immortal Tao river was also a form of power. The immortals of the immortal world cultivated the infinity Tao and were connected to the infinity river. Moreover, the infinity river was all-encompassing and had unlimited will. Summon the jade plate. Return to its owner. The voice from the immortal Tao river appeared here and rushed into the new universe. Immediately, the immortal tower's owner's expression changed. He saw that in the core of the new universe, half of the good fortune jade plate was trembling, about to fly out at any moment. This was not Jiang Li's power, but the will of all living beings in the immortal world. All of them were praying for the good fortune jade plate to return. The power of this prayer was gathered and sent into the infinity river, where it expanded and attracted the good fortune jade plate. This was Jiang Li's way of testing the waters. If the third dimension universe's will blocked it, then it would have to fight the immortal world's will. Although the third dimension universe's will was stronger than the immortal world's, it couldn't be defeated so easily. With Luo Feng stationed and Jiang Li adjusting the order, the immortal world's will was clear and bright, its fate rising steadily. The will was also growing stronger. Apart from that, the third dimension universe's will was restrained by the myriad world's celestial sphere, and it wasn't that comfortable. Immortal Tower's owner, I'm not doing anything right now. The beings of the immortal world are automatically summoning the good fortune jade plate. What are you going to do about it? Jiang Li didn't move. He didn't release any vital energy, nor did he intend to attack. He just watched as the good fortune jade plate in the new universe floated up. Oof. You're thinking too simply of the third dimension universe. The good fortune jade plate of the immortal world is also very useful for the third dimension universe. Back then, it separated the good fortune jade plate and entered the third dimension universe because of its plan. It wanted to adjust the yin and yang, kill Yuan Shi, and pull the myriad world's will. The immortal tower's owner didn't move either. As expected, The agitated good fortune jade plate was suddenly injected with a strange energy. It actually burned with a raging flame. The flame was pure white, and all its power was squeezed out. With a slight tremor, the immortal world's long river and the boundless river were shattered. Jiangli saw the intense pressure of the third dimension universe's will. "Get out of my way," the immortal tower's owner said. "The third dimension universe's will is angry. If you don't listen, then your body and soul will be destroyed. Don't blame me for not warning you. It's tolerating you now because you're still useful. Martial Ancestor, I can already feel your aura. Come out. Let's join forces and fight the third dimension universe's will." Jiangli didn't care about the immortal tower's owner at all. His eyes shot out divine light that penetrated the new universe and came into contact with the good fortune jade plate. "All right." A deep voice came from the deepest part of the new universe. "Jiangli, a mighty figure like you has finally appeared among us humans. I've waited for so long for this day. How can a puny thing like the immortal tower suppress me?" The deep voice rumbled and echoed throughout the heavens and earth. "The third dimension universe, he's suppressing me. Jiangli, let's join forces and fight. Let's leave the martial Tao to the void." All of a sudden, a tall figure walked out from the depths of the new universe. He was burly and domineering, and he threw a punch. The entire new universe cracked inch by inch. The martial ancestor broke free. Chapter 900. The ancestor of martial arts had been imprisoned ever since Jiangli was born on Earth. In fact, he was cultivating a peerless divine power. Moreover, he was not imprisoned by the master of the immortal tower, but by the third dimension heavenly will. The fortune that the ancestor of martial arts had was definitely not something that ordinary great emperors or even experts with the same lifespan as heaven and earth could compare to. When he appeared, boundless martial chi actually traversed the void and gathered in the void realm, forming a long river of the void. That was the long river of martial arts. It was not a hypocritical long river, but a real long river. The moment it was entrusted, the martial world shook violently as if it was going to break through the void and fly out. The essence, chi, and spirit of all martial arts practitioners gathered in the long river of martial arts and began to condense. Those who practiced martial arts did not suffer any losses. Instead, their spirits were entrusted and they saw hope. At that moment, the ancestor of martial arts, Bao Liming, understood what martial arts was, and what martial arts was even more than the martial world's heavenly will. Therefore, he gathered the long river of martial arts. When the long river appeared, the aura of all martial arts practitioners seeped into it. The long river instantly grew and was almost comparable to the Million Treasure River and surpassed the Infinite River. There were too many people who practiced martial arts among the living. What was martial arts? They were hot-blooded, courageous, unstoppable, decisive in killing, courageous and diligent, quick to repay kindness and enmity, righteous for the country and the people, willing to sacrifice their lives for justice, and unafraid of death. All of these were martial arts. Martial artists were heroic, and their words were worth 1,000 gold. When these auras gathered, they formed the long river of martial arts. They walked boldly and majestically. The ancestor of martial arts created this long river. Only then could he be called a true ancestor of martial arts. Ha ha ha! Bao Liming destroyed the new universe with a punch and broke free. Immediately, he roared in the depths of the new universe. The pagoda suppressed, and the vitality solidified, causing the new universe to quickly repair its cracks. Bao Liming's mighty and vigorous body had already arrived in front of Jiangli. Even with Jiangli's current cultivation, he felt that he was vigorous and forceful. His piercing cold cut through the sky like a piercing sword, splitting yin and yang and shattering the universe. This was the ancestor of martial arts. Bao Liming nodded at Jiangli and spoke to the vast starry sky. "Three-dimensional universe, come out. I know you're watching us." The stars twinkled as they listened to him. However, the heavenly will of the 3D universe did not respond to him. "Third, since you're not willing to respond to me, I'll destroy the immortal tower and destroy your plan to balance yin and yang." The 3D universe has lost its last glory because of Yuan Shi and the will of the myriad realms. When the Great Tribulation comes, you can only reincarnate and fight for that slim chance of survival. It's impossible for you to replace the chaos. The people you chose, the great dream crown prince, Jiang Nalan, the mental demon patriarch, and the heavenly dipper and earthly fiend emperor, are all scoundrels. Can't you choose someone who's really lucky? Ba Liming's aura had already enveloped the entire star region of the Immortal Tower. Be it the great dream crown prince, Jiang Nalan, the mental demon patriarch, or the heavenly dipper and earthly fiend emperor, they were all peerless heroes and ancient magnates. They were extremely powerful and stood at the peak of the myriad realms. However, the ancestor of martial arts called them scoundrels. This was a deep contempt. Of course, to Jiang Li, even if these people weren't scoundrels, they were stray dogs and hysterical fanatics. When the ancestor of martial arts Ba Liming uttered his last words, a young man appeared. This young man stood in front of the master of the Immortal Tower. He was the third young man. He was also the reincarnation of the heavenly will of the 3D universe. In the past, Jiang Li thought that the heavenly will of the 3D universe would reincarnate in the human realm. Therefore, he ordered people to keep a close watch on it. However, this young man suddenly appeared. It was obvious that he had a way to reincarnate. Ancestor of martial arts, you condensed the martial Tao into a long river and entrusted it to the void. There is great righteousness and true essence within it. Just this action alone is already worthy of the title of ancestor of martial arts. If not for this, how could you use the word ancestor? The third young man smiled. Now that you have broken free, do you really think that you can defeat me? If you were at your peak, I wouldn't be a match for you. However, you are at your weakest now. If the heavens have feelings, they will also age. You are emotionless and cold. When you operate the heavenly Tao, you are the strongest and most valiant. Now that the myriad realms celestial sphere has interfered with the heavenly Tao, you can no longer adhere to your rules and can only reincarnate. The ancestor of martial arts Ba Liming said, now that you have human feelings, you are not strong. Hold on, Jiang Li suddenly said. Honorable heavenly will of the 3D universe, why have you spoiled my plans time and time again? In the end, we have the same goal, which is to destroy the primal chaos. We should work together and not fight each other. The primal chaos hopes for us to fight each other. You and I both have great luck. Once we fight, our luck will be depleted, and the primal chaos could take advantage of it. Everything I do is calculated, and I see further than you. The third young man said, how can you predict the changes of the primal chaos? Moreover, why should I go against you? Don't you have an intuition? There's a trace of the aura of primal chaos on you. It is very likely that you are the child of primal chaos. You have thought about this yourself, haven't you? Are you kidding me? If I were the child of primal chaos, I would have destroyed the world long ago. Why would I be working so hard to manage the human world? Jiang Li snorted disdainfully. He definitely wouldn't waver because of this. He insisted on walking his own path. There are also people who say that I was groomed by the primordial heavenly king of heaven. All of the great Daos were instilled into me by him. Then who should I believe? It is precisely because you have the aura of the child of primal chaos on you that Yuan Shi chose you for possession. The third young man said calmly and harshly. Also, there's not only one child of primal chaos, but many of them. There might even be humans. Because every human and every living being is actually primal chaos in nature. So it's possible that they are all children of primal chaos. However, you're the most suspicious one. What if I am not the child of primal chaos? With my current cultivation, I will soon surpass fate, seize fate, and fight against the primal chaos. You should be supporting me, not suppressing me. In the future, I will be the most important force to fight against the primal chaos. As for your chess pieces, they're either insane or hysterical. There is no order to them at all. I think they will be influenced by the primal chaos sooner or later, and they will lose their own Tao. Jiang Li sneered. Your eyes are not that good either. The ancestor of martial arts, Ba Liming, watched quietly and did not say anything. He only let Jiang Li talk to the three-dimensional universe's will. They have their own destiny. The third young man said, "Today, you and the ancestor of martial arts are here to destroy the immortal Towers galaxy and take back the creation Jade Disk. Am I right?" "Yes, my red dust realm is tainted by the heavenly Tao with the qi of the impure world. As the saying goes, the heavenly Tao is the red dust is tranquility, and troubles are nirvana. All worlds unite as one, work together, create a trend, and enter a new era." Jiang Li said, "Only then can we hope to fight against the primal chaos. It is useless. It is useless to use the method of unity to fight against the primal chaos. All things come from within the primal chaos. The result of unity is to evolve the primal chaos again. You think that you are fighting against the primal chaos, but in fact, you are helping it." The third young man waved his hand. The Permethar realm did the same. They gathered many people with great destiny to create the Permethar realm. In the end, they survived the great trial of reincarnation for more than 3 times. Jiang Li said, "Then tell me, what method do you have?" The Permethar realm did not survive the great trial of primal chaos because of unity. They were accomplices of the primal chaos. At the crucial moment, they betrayed the people with great destiny. They behaved the same way as the emissary of destruction. That was how they obtained the primal chaos tacit approval and escaped the disaster. The third young man said, "As long as the primal chaos is determined to destroy it, no living thing can exist. This time, the primal chaos wants to destroy everything. The Permethar realm cannot hold on anymore." "I see," Jiang Li asked. "Then tell me, what method do you have to fight against the primal chaos?" "Not at the moment." The third young man answered straightforwardly. "You also have no way to fight against the primal chaos. Then what are you doing here?" Although Jiang Li said so, he was secretly on guard. The third young man had gained some humanity. Although he was much weaker, he was somewhat cunning. He had to be on guard against him. It's very simple. If the primal chaos is so easy to deal with and come up with a way, then there would have been people who would have killed it during the great trial of reincarnation. Do you know how many times the primal chaos has destroyed and created the world? It's uncountable. In such a long period of reincarnation, there are countless outstanding experts. There are even a few reincarnations where there were people who were stronger than Yuan Shi. I once knew that there was an expert who went through 9 reincarnations in a row and fought against the primal chaos to the end. However, during the last 10 reincarnations, he was completely killed. This expert surpassed Yuan Shi. From this, it can be seen that the primal chaos cannot be defeated, the third young man said. "How do you know so clearly?" Jiang Li was a little puzzled. "You're just the universes will produced by the primal chaos Big Bang this time. You haven't even gone through the great trial of reincarnation. In a sense, even the master of the immortal tower is stronger than you." "What a foolish person," the third young man sighed. "My body contains endless information about the primal chaos. The situation of every reincarnation is in the depths of my memory and cannot be erased. How can I be as simple as you think I am? Since the primal chaos cannot be defeated, doesn't that mean we have no hope at all?" Jiang Li didn't believe what the third young man said at all. It was hard to tell whether this person was telling the truth or not. It's not necessarily impossible, because this reincarnation is different from the past. The third young man said, "In the past, when the primal chaos destroyed the world, there would be some people left behind who could escape the calamity and enter the next reincarnation. This is also the primal chaos giving people hope, showing that there is a chance of survival in the unseen world. However, this time, it isn't prepared to let any living beings go. Something must have happened to it for it to change its rules." Chapter 901. At the end of the day, you still haven't said anything substantial. How are we going to fight against the chaos? Without a proper path, how can we follow you? Right now, the best way is to gather all living beings and fight against the chaos. Apart from that, there's no other way. Jiang Li listened and still felt that the teenager was bluffing. He had his own Tao. Why would he follow this person? This path is wrong. People have walked it before, but it's useless. In every reincarnation, there have been people who unified the material world, but they were still crushed by the chaos. You might as well not take this wrong path, the teenager said. As the saying goes, one false step brings everlasting sorrow. When you turn back, it's already 100 years later. Taking the wrong path will not only waste energy and resources, but also your luck. You can't find a good way to fight against the chaos and stop me from taking the next step. Are we just going to watch as the calamity comes and we all die? Zhongli felt that the teenager was unreasonable. What we need to do now is wait. The teenager said, when things take a turn for the better, we'll make our move. Wait? I can't wait that long. Zhongli said, time is of the essence. The calamity is coming. I need to increase my chances and luck. Today, I'm going to take the Immortal Tower, the Star Region, and the Fortune Jade Disc. I'm going to complete the human world and the world of immortals and the Red Dust Realm. If you stop us, we'll have to fight you. Fight? Fighting each other before the calamity and wasting our luck is courting death, the teenager said calmly. What do you say, martial ancestor? Zhongli still wanted to hear Ba Liming's opinion. What's the point of talking to him? He's just bluffing. Kill him, defeat him, suppress him, refine him, and walk your own path. Even if it's a dead end, you won't regret it. Why talk so much? When the calamity comes, we'll break it if we can. If we can't, we'll be completely destroyed. That's all there is to life and death. What's the point of begging him? The martial ancestor, Ba Liming, didn't listen to what the teenager was saying. He said calmly, come fight. His body moved slightly. He unleashed his martial art. This move might seem simple, but it was called subjugating the world. This move required the user to take consecutive steps, flashing from east to west, striking from north to south, using claws, palms, fists, fingers, legs, shoulders, head, buttocks, back, and arms to attack the enemy. Every part of the user's body could emit extremely sharp jinqi that intertwined with each other, creating a situation where the world was shrouded in martial arts. However, when this move was used by Ba Liming, it was definitely different. His true energy sprouted slightly, and his martial arts filled the universe. The long river of martial arts sprinkled down from the heavens, and it was filled with a heroic aura throughout the ages. The martial Tao was the Tao of justice, the Tao of ordinary men, and the Tao of loyalty. Bang! Everything was shattered. Ba Liming's world subjugation had already arrived in front of the third dimension universe's heaven's will. He grabbed hold of that strand of origin and ruthlessly attacked it. Ba Liming, your cultivation is indeed very strong, but it can't be compared to mine. Even though I'm suppressed by the myriad world's celestial sphere, you're still no match for me, the young man said calmly. His palms changed and flowers unfurled. Each flower caught Ba Liming's moves and attacks, completely neutralizing them. With exquisite techniques, he withstood all the attacks, but he didn't counterattack. Zhongli, Limitless River, the ancestor of martial arts, Ba Liming, had originally been unable to gang up on others, but now that he was facing these three young men, it didn't matter. They were not human, but the lord of the vast starry sky, the king of the galaxy, and the source of all things. Naturally, he had to join forces with Zhongli to fight together. With Zhongli's current cultivation, he could indeed fight shoulder to shoulder with him. All right, Zhongli also wanted to fight against the third dimension universe's heaven's will. Every drop of blood in his body was calling out, and endless wishes were transmitted. Suddenly, the depths of the void lit up, and four long rivers appeared. Limitless, Massacre, Kingsway, and Time. That's right, the River of Time had also appeared. Of course, Zhongli was only borrowing its power. Of the four long rivers, only the Limitless River was truly under his control. He could only borrow the power of the other long rivers, and it was still too early for him to control the other long rivers. As for the River of Time, he could only use its might, like a fox borrowing the tiger's might. He could use the source of the Massacre and Kingsway rivers, but he still had to sacrifice his own vitality. The Limitless River was his arm, and he could use it however he wanted. The four long rivers converged, merging into limitless. Jiang Li's body instantly became tall, and he almost had the majesty of the Heavenly Father's space-time fragment. With a slight stomp of his feet, the Immortal Tower's star domain cracked inch by inch. The Immortal Tower's master roared and shrank the star domain. This place isn't suitable for battle. I'll move you to the real battlefield. Since you insist on doing things your own way, I'll let you see what the source of the third dimension universe is. You still don't understand what kind of existence I am. How sad. The three young men suddenly disappeared. The space shifted, and then thunder rumbled. There was only a void in front of them. They had actually arrived at the edge of the void realm. They had left the material realm. In that instant, Zhongli felt like he was being turned into nothingness. On the other hand, the martial ancestor Ba Liming's expression didn't change. He retracted his fist technique, and his aura was like a mountain. This is the edge of the void realm. Look, over there is endless primordial chaos. The three young men pointed outside the void realm, where primordial chaos Paleochi roiled. It was black and dense, and its power made Jiang Li's heart tremble. Face the pressure of primordial chaos, and you'll know how terrifying it is. The three young men continued. Look, that's the material realm. Jiang Li had long since noticed that the vast void enveloped the material realm. At that moment, the material realm truly appeared in his eyes, or rather, in the depths of his heart. The material realm was so vast that the eyes couldn't see it completely. Only the mind could sense it, because the mind was limitless. In fact, the material realm included the myriad worlds, all sorts of space-time turbulence, and even the three-dimensional universe. Even a great emperor couldn't see the entire three-dimensional universe, let alone the entire material realm. Only those who surpassed the great emperors, who lived as long as heaven and earth, could obtain information about the material realm. After all, their lifespans were linked to the lifespans of the material realm. Although Jiang Li wasn't an expert who lived as long as heaven and earth, his battle prowess surpassed that of a great emperor. Moreover, after devouring Jia, his cultivation base could see the entire material realm. The material realm floated up and down, surrounded by the void. It wasn't round, nor was it square. It had no rules, and it constantly changed and reassembled itself. At every moment, the myriad worlds were like the tectonic plates of the continent, colliding and reassembling themselves. Jiang Li saw the immortal world, his mortal world, the heaven realm of justice, and all sorts of other existences. In the material realm, the three-dimensional universe was the largest. At the bottom of the myriad worlds, it was inconceivably large, as if it could bear the weight of the myriad worlds. Without the support of the material realm, the myriad worlds would likely fall into a bottomless abyss and sink into oblivion. The three-dimensional universe was larger than all the myriad worlds combined. It was an existence that could bear the weight of the myriad worlds. The myriad worlds were the heavens, and the three-dimensional universe was the earth. Do you see it clearly now? I'm not the one devouring the myriad worlds, but the myriad worlds are supported by me. Without me, the myriad worlds will fall. The youth's tone was calm. How do you feel now? Do you still have the confidence to fight me? Fight! The martial ancestor Ba Liming said. You infused the immortal tower's star domain with your will and suppressed me for so many years. Although I comprehended the martial river during the suppression, I still have some resentment to vent. You brought us here because you were afraid of destroying your three-dimensional universe, right? Now, your universe is very weak, and we can't afford to fight. If the three-dimensional universe is destroyed, the myriad worlds will no longer exist. The idea of destroying the world by chaos will be realized. The youth sighed. I'll fight you in the void realm to let you know that the power of humans is limited. You are humans, not the heavens. Rumble. As they spoke, the youth made his move. The moment he made his move, the winds and clouds surged, flowers bloomed in the void, and all sorts of profoundness were displayed. Bam! His large hand came crashing down from the sky, creating a vortex that had already sucked in Jiang Li and Ba Liming. From the distant material world, boundless energy was transmitted over and poured into his body, causing him to be in a nearly invincible state. Myriad beings vortex. The vortex in his hand was the vortex of a three begets all things. It was as if the myriad worlds had been created by him, and was no less powerful than the myriad world's celestial orb. Absorb. Zhongli didn't move a muscle. Instead, he transformed into an ancient well and a vortex that tried to absorb the power of the vortex, only to find that he couldn't. I know that you can absorb attacks and convert them into primal chaos paleo energy, but you can't absorb my three-dimensional vortex. I can absorb your ancient well. The youth's face remained expressionless, as if he were emotionless. However, his heart was filled with a multitude of emotions. You talk too much, the martial ancestor Ba Liming said. He was a man of few words, but his first move was a deadly one. He unleashed a fist strike that could shatter the void, shake mountains and rivers, devour the universe, and destroy the Tao of heaven. Eat this. Martial magic of nature. His fist strike became a towering mountain, a boundless starry sky, a surging river, immortal spirits, countless living beings, a yellow spring, and a green underworld. It was nature. The Taoist magic was nature, and the martial magic was nature. The martial arts were the Tao, and the Tao was the martial arts. The martial ancestor was the true martial arts. The world of martial arts was not the true martial arts, but the martial ancestor. His enlightenment of the martial arts surpassed the world of martial arts, and therefore, the essence of the world of martial arts had to acknowledge allegiance to the martial ancestor. He had reached an unprecedented height on the path of martial arts. It was impossible for him to enter the vortex. The vortex collapsed. Die. Zhongli roused all of his blood and qi, directly drawing down the slaughter river. Boundless slaughter qi condensed in his blood vessels. Within the 129,600 drops of blood, all of them were slaughter sword qi. He took advantage of the moment Ba Liming destroyed the vortex to destroy the three begets. Chapter 902. Zhongli unleashed the four winding rivers to kill the three youth. He seemed to have found the core source of the third dimension universe. As long as he could grab hold of it, he would be able to absorb it. If he could devour three, that would be even more powerful than devouring the three paragons of the other shore. In the physical world, the 3D universe's heaven's will was the strongest. This was publicly acknowledged. A 3D universe could support the myriad worlds and absorb the fallen deities. The Nirvana triad was no match for it. If Ba Liming wasn't here today, Zhongli wouldn't have the confidence to fight against this person. Even if the human realm had reached its current state, it was still far from being a match for the 3D universe. The total volume of the myriad worlds added up wasn't as big as the 3D universe. If it wasn't for Yuan Shi combining the will of the myriad worlds to form the myriad world sphere to suppress the origin of the 3D universe, the current three would be invincible. No one in the heavens could contend against it. Surround. The youth put his palms together in front of him. All of Jiang Li's attacks turned into illusions and dissipated in the void. However, the martial ancestor Ba Liming's fist had already arrived. Martial technique to the heavens. His fist connected the earth to the sky, connecting the bridge between heaven and earth. There was no longer any barrier between heaven and man. No matter how powerful the primal chaos unification technique was, it couldn't even cause the slightest bit of chaos in his fist technique. This person's martial arts transcended life and death, transcended reincarnation. Using pure martial will, he sliced through the endless cracks, reaching the end of the path and opening up a new path. The path of martial arts was limitless, as expected of the martial ancestor. My current cultivation can't even compare to him. How could the master of the immortal tower suppress him? That must be the meaning of the 3D universe. Now that he's free, it's normal for him to seek revenge. If that's the case, I'll help him. Regardless of life and death, regardless of success or failure, I'll fight against three. Jiang Li was shocked by Ba Liming's martial arts. Ba Liming was more carefree than him. Every punch and every move he made was reckless. He didn't care about life and death, his friends and family, heaven and earth. This was a fist technique that had no worries. Jiang Li had too many worries, so he wasn't as carefree as Ba Liming. He was worried about the human world, about his friends, about his parents, about the myriad worlds, about the immortals, and about the common people. Ba Liming, on the other hand, was completely different. Even if humanity was destroyed, he would still throw out his fist. Jiang Li was willing to give up his life for humanity. The Taoists of these two could be said to be diametrically opposed. One was a great abandonment, and the other was a great concern. Therefore, Jiang Li was not as good as Ba Liming. However, he had his own Tao and was not prepared to learn from Ba Liming. Sometimes, the power of worry can also be a driving force. Abandoning everything was the Tao. Worrying about everything was also the Tao. When love is strong, it will turn thin. When the fist arrived, the hand broke. Ba Liming's fist broke the hands of 3, making it unable to put its palms together again. He could only retreat. Martial art profundity. Another few steps later, Ba Liming's fists trembled. They weren't moving in a straight line, but rather, they were moving in arcs, creating perfect cuts. Those arcs were the most perfect profoundness. Anyone who saw those arcs would be able to comprehend a set of peerless martial arts. Ba Liming was the perfect martial Tao, the model of heaven and earth, the source of a martial Tao. He attacked continuously and actually forced the youth of 3 to retreat, gaining the upper hand. Jiang Li was dumbfounded, but he gradually comprehended. From Ba Liming's body, he learned how to activate the martial Tao. Although their Taos were different, he could still learn from them. Ba Liming's carefreeness was his concern. Infinite concern. Suddenly, he punched out, and it actually worked together with Ba Liming. Their Taos were completely different, like the combination of yin and yang turning into taiji. Living beings appeared in his fist technique, and every living being was growing strong and healthy. And in Ba Liming's fist technique, there were no living beings. It didn't belong to the secular world. It belonged to the most profound profundity. Jiang Li's fist technique was the pure fist of the secular world. It was lively, real, and definitely not illusory. From his fist technique, one could see his parents, brothers, sisters, neighbors, uncles, aunties, superiors, subordinates, relatives, and friends. In a trance, they returned to the secular world and became ordinary people. When this fist was punched out, Ba Liming's eyes were wide open, and he was shocked. There's actually such a fist technique. What kind of person was he? He knew how powerful Jiang Li's punch was. When he saw this punch, he felt as if he had returned to his youth, back in his own courtyard, playing with the girl next door. His father was working in the fields, and his mother was cooking. Everything was so clear, so real, so natural. And this was nothing more than a dream. It was too surreal. This fist technique was already comparable to his. As expected of the ruler of the human world, you control the human world and understand the essence of the secular world. Ordinary things are the greatest. Ba Liming's will ran through the fist technique, merging with Jiang Li's martial arts. The two of them attacked to the peak, drilling towards the 3 young man. The 3 young man was retreating. The endless void gave him enough space to move and avoid the sharpness. Whether it was Ba Liming's free and easy abandonment fist or Jiang Li's red dust fist, he could completely block and suppress them. But when they were combined, the power was not as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. The two fist techniques twisted and intertwined, forcing him to retreat. However, Jiang Li and Ba Liming's fist technique covered everything. It was even bigger than the void, and the speed at which it spread far exceeded his retreat. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The fist technique turned into a curtain, pulled down, and covered him upside down. The 3 young man was already completely wrapped up. There was no surprise on his face. Instead, he was slightly praising, "Not bad, not bad. I originally thought that it would be easy for me to suppress you, but I didn't expect your martial arts to reach such a realm. Especially you, Jiangli. Your fist technique has too many concerns. I didn't take you seriously at first, but you turned your concerns into limitless, turning the secular world into the heavenly Tao. Not bad, not bad. I've only seen such potential in one person, and that person is Yuan Shi. His was very fast. When the fist technique arrived, it had already let Ba Liming and Jiangli know. Then he actually sat down cross-legged. A circle of light appeared around his body, spreading out and dissipating the fist technique, unable to touch his body at all. Light of the Grand Luo, Ba Liming retracted his fist and retreated. Jiangli sensed his aura and hurriedly retracted his own cultivation, advancing and retreating together. Light of the Grand Luo. The Grand Luo was able to traverse space and time, eternally free and unaffected by all tribulations. The three-dimensional universe was the origin of the Grand Luo. Although he was sitting cross-legged, the light of the Grand Luo around his body was getting stronger and stronger, illuminating the void and becoming the only source of light. Even in the infinite worlds, there were still bigwigs who could see that bright ball of light in the void. In the void realm, there were many rivers that were condensed from the will of all living beings. They seemed real and illusory at the same time, and they shone brilliantly. But now, it seemed like all the rivers had lost their light, and the brightest one was the light of the Grand Luo, the heaven's will of the three-dimensional universe. He had finally unleashed his ultimate art. The light of the Grand Luo condensed, and the intense light could melt and purify all things. You have great luck on you, so fuse with me. I have the true essence of the Grand Luo, and Yuan Shi also wanted to obtain it, but he still returned in low spirits in the end. The three-legged youth said, "You guys aren't as strong as him, so there's no way you can compete with me." He stood up again, and his aura was completely different from before. He raised his hand and spread open his fingers. Every finger was expanding, and he brushed it over their heads. Both Jiang Li and Ba Liming felt that the rift, the worlds, the heaven and earth, and even the primordial chaos had all disappeared with the brush and were replaced by his palm. The heaven and earth in the palm. The light of the Grand Luo was densely packed, and the net of the heavens was wide and tight. Both of them felt as if they were being suppressed. That's right, I was suppressed by this light when I barged into the Immortal Tower Star Zone back then. It really is you, and you've been suppressing me for such a long time. Ba Liming's eyes sharpened when he saw the light pressing down on his head. He suddenly let out a roar. Do you think you can still hide from my eyes? Deceive my mind? Restrict my body? A god that could suppress me? I'm going to make you vanish into thin air. He threw another punch in the air. It's useless. If I can suppress you once, I can do it again. You're a human, and the power of a human is limited. Everything in the primordial chaos is divided into different levels, and I'm the most noble of them all. Even if I've gone through all kinds of tribulations, I'm still superior. Therefore, you can't fight against me. Ba Liming's punch was crushed in the blink of an eye. The light of the Grand Luo continued to press down. Long River. Zhongli also felt that it was extremely dangerous. As long as he was suppressed, he would definitely be consigned to eternal damnation. Even if he didn't die, the human world would lose its backbone and be destroyed by all kinds of ambitious people. One should know that although the human world was huge and stood at the peak of the myriad worlds, there were still many hidden dangers. Many of the humans inside had yet to break the curse, and it could be said to be an internal problem. Offending the Permethar realm, the heavenly realm of justice, and the various emissaries of Armageddon could be said to be an external threat. Both internal and external problems would arise at the same time. Without him to suppress it, it could be said that everything would collapse in an instant. He definitely couldn't allow himself to be sealed. With a slight tremble, the Long River appeared, once again gathering the power of the four long rivers and turning it into an infinite one. However, Ba Liming was faster than him. In an instant, his body disintegrated into countless runes, and each rune was a martial path. The shadows swayed, and there were heavenly secrets everywhere. Third dimension heaven's will. I will use my body to transform into the long river of the martial path. From now on, the long river of the martial path is me, and I will be the long river of the martial path. In this life, I will be above your head. The martial path is one. One begets two, and two begets three. Ba Liming's body turned into the long river of the martial path, and in the depths of the sky, he fused with the true long river of the martial path. He lost his imprint and became the long river. At this moment, Ba Liming was no longer a human, but a long river. He merged himself into the long river, and when he took a step out, he would be inhuman. Chapter 903. Ba Liming had originally created the Martial Path River to spread martial arts to the world. As long as the wills of all martial cultivators entered it, the river would become stronger and stronger. However, he felt that the river was too slow. He actually gave up on his human body and merged into the river himself. It was like a blacksmith who felt that his sword was not good enough and jumped into the molten iron to forge a sword with his body. Only by doing so would he be able to forge a supreme sword. Ba Liming merged his body into the river of martial arts, becoming the river itself. This way, the attraction of the river of martial arts would increase by 10 times. Even ordinary beings that practice martial arts will be able to sense the river of martial arts. As long as they were sincere and believed in martial arts, they would be able to obtain the cultivation methods of martial arts from within. As long as they offered sacrifices, they would even be able to obtain power. The Martial Path River had a true spirit, and in an instant, it strengthened by several times. Originally, only those who cultivated to a high level would be able to sense this river and feel respect for the martial path. Originally, only those who could sense it. But now, it was common to the weak. In terms of faith and devotion, there was actually no difference between gods and ants. So in an instant, the number of people who knew about the Martial Path River increased by billions of times. The Martial Path was hope. Weak people could become strong through training. It was a life-saving straw, a gathering of wills, courage, confidence, and strength. It was the path of advancement. From an ant to a god, there was no other way. One could only walk to the peak step by step through the martial path. This was the true meaning of the martial path. Martial was something that gave living beings hope. They could even seek longevity, conquer enemies, and obtain what they wanted. The word martial path contained many things. When Ba Liming turned into the Martial Path River and was no longer a human, the Martial Path River broke through the Daluo light and expanded in the void once more. At this moment, Zhongli felt that the Martial Path River had come to life. It was extremely lively and merged with the human world. All living beings in the human world had the heart to pursue the martial path. Limitless, the great Tao of infinity, Zhongli murmured. The long river of martial arts itself is the foundation of limitlessness. Only with martial arts can there be limitlessness, and only with limitlessness can there be meaning to martial arts. The path of martial arts and limitlessness are inseparable. Rumble. Ba Liming's will emanated from the Martial Path River. Zhongli, infinity is the martial path, and the martial path is infinity. I will use the Martial Path River to work together with your Infinity River to unleash a destructive strike. Seal the three-dimensional universe. All right, success or failure depends on this. Zhongli was very motivated to see Ba Liming like this. There was no way he could imitate Ba Liming, because there were too many people in the mortal world who needed him. From now on, Ba Liming would be the eternal river and would never appear in the mortal world. However, he would use his will to influence millions upon millions of living beings to pursue the martial path, to pursue longevity, and to pursue transcendence. The boundless river, the martial river, the river of slaughter, the river of monarchs, and even the river of time all glowed brightly as they gathered around Zhongli. At this moment, in the human realm, a gust of emerald blood, loyal heart, qi also swept up, making Zhongli more powerful than ever. Every step he took seemed to shake the chaos outside of the void realm. The ancient primal chaos was swirling about, shaken up. Why you're courting death? The 13-year-old said, visibly moved. You're communicating with primal chaos and provoking tribulation. Are you trying to extract primal chaos, paleo energy? By challenging the might of primal chaos, you're drawing on the power of primal chaos to invite the wolf into your house. You know you can't deal with me, and even if you join forces with Ba Liming, you still won't be a match for me. Is that why you're staking everything on this one gamble? That's right. I'm the ancient well of all living beings. The undying God-lamp planetary system created this well to absorb primal chaos paleo energy and to challenge the majesty of primal chaos. I'm the well, and the well is me. Let me take the first step in challenging primal chaos. The enraged will of primal chaos appeared above Jiang Li's head. The enraged will of primal chaos covered the 13-year-old. The 13-year-old wasn't afraid of anything, but he feared primal chaos. That was because primal chaos could not be defeated. It was impossible to say how many cycles of reincarnation he had experienced and how many people stronger than Yuanshi had challenged primal chaos, but none of them had succeeded. They had tried everything they could think of, but it was impossible to defeat primal chaos. The more the 13-year-old learned, the more despair he felt. Now that Jiang Li had summoned primal chaos to surround him, he had no desire to fight Jiang Li. Although he wanted to replace primal chaos and challenge it, now wasn't the time. You want to leave? Too late. We might be fighting, but we're working together. Come on, let's fight the wrath of primal chaos together. Jiang Li's pores and blood began to pour out of him like tentacles, piercing through the void and into the depths of primal chaos. He was actually trying to absorb primal chaos paleo energy. He was absorbing the blood of primal chaos. Oh, living beings, I created you, and yet you don't know how to be grateful. Instead, you come to provoke me. The will of primal chaos had taken on a humanoid form, and at the same time, the ancient energy converged on Jiang Li's head, where it transformed into the shape of a human face. It was the face of a man, with a long beard and unkempt hair. His facial features were ancient, as if he were some ancient relic that had been sealed away for countless years, had finally returned to the world of mortals. Jiang Li had never seen a face like this before. Although it was a human face, it didn't seem human at all. There was no life force to it, and it was almost like a statue made of stone. It was clearly a living person, and yet it gave off the feeling of stone. That was what primal chaos looked like when it took on human form. Of course, it was only a sliver of primal chaos, will, an instinct that was one in a trillion. The true primal chaos had yet to awaken. The emissaries of extermination were actually manifestations of his will. Whoosh! As soon as the primal chaos man's face appeared, his eyes locked onto Jiang Li and the 13-year-old. Jiang Li felt like he couldn't escape, as if he were a piece of iron that had met a magnet. The 13-year-old put his palms together again, and his body was about to merge into the void realm and disappear without a trace. At that moment, the primal chaos man's face opened his mouth, like a frog making its first sound, representing the arrival of spring and summer. With this sound, a large amount of ancient lightning shot out, more ferocious than the brilliance of the Daoyuo light. It covered the sky and the earth, penetrating space and time, making it impossible for anyone to escape. Wherever the lightning went, it turned into primal chaos, and even the void couldn't escape its clutches. This was the first step of the world's destruction, and from then on, it would be unstoppable. Turn primal chaos into all things. Jiang Li activated all of his cultivation, and the 129,600 continents of the human realm appeared behind him, trying his best to turn the attack of primal chaos into all things, into a single yuan. The 13-year-old swallowed and spat out the brilliance of the Daoyuo light, blocking the will of primal chaos outside their bodies. Although he was powerful, he didn't have the ability to transform like Jiang Li. After all, the ancient well created by countless experts in the immortal magic lamp star field, coupled with the tribulation of the Big Bang, and after being repaired by Jiang Li, was unique in this world. Even the heaven's will of the three-dimensional universe couldn't create it. Both of them were shrouded by the raging primal chaos. Jiangli could absorb the power of primal chaos and turn it into his own, while the 13-year-old resisted the primal chaos and consumed his own strength. In this way, one's loss and the other's gain, giving Jiangli an advantage. Now, we're having a real battle. We'll resist the power of primal chaos together, and then we'll fight each other. Even if I'm killed by you, I'll take you down with me. Jiangli laughed, and his voice reverberated through the 9 heavens. You're crazy, you're not calm at all. In order to fight with me and offset my advantage, you actually triggered the tribulation of primal chaos, putting yourself in a dangerous situation. If you're not careful, the great tribulation of primal chaos will arrive ahead of time, spreading from the void to the material realm. If that happens, all living things will be destroyed, and your human realm will also perish. The 13-year-old seemed to have human emotions, and he seemed to be very angry. In that case, I don't think there's any need for me to talk nonsense with you. I'll let you see the true power of the 3-dimensional universe. Let's see what I can rely on to compete with primal chaos. Tear. He raised his hands high into the air. The light of the Daluo pierced through everything, and the clouds of primal chaos lightning retreated. He took a step forward, and in the blink of an eye, he was directly in front of Jiangli. He was going to go all out. Jiangli had drawn upon primal chaos to drag him into it, and was even willing to take him down with him. The 13-year-old was furious. Although he was in human form, his human emotions were very weak, and he generally didn't feel either anger or joy. He simply followed the flow of the Tao of heaven. Of course, Jiangli didn't care at all. He didn't care if the will of the 3-dimensional universe was angry or calm. Today, he was going to use the power of the 13-year-old to further his cultivation. He hadn't dared to absorb primal chaos palea energy or extract primal chaos blood, but now he had nothing to fear. He was going to drag 3 down with him. Furthermore, with 3 there, he could weaken the power of primal chaos. It was like killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Unfortunately, what he was doing was infuriating 3. Even when Ba Liming and Jiangli were ganging up on him, he had been calm and collected and hadn't been angry. But now he was furious. Jiangli had breached his bottom line. Die. His claws were already on Jiangli's chest. Jiangli was like flowing water as he backed up, hoping to avoid the fiendish hand that was trying to dig his heart out. However, 3 waved his claws, and 9 shadowy figures appeared, each one of which was as strong as he was. All of them reached out with the same claws to rip Jiangli to shreds. His megaplexus godolite spread out, forming an umbrella that held up the sky and prevented the enraged primal chaos from descending. 3 was supposed to replace primal chaos, and this measly primal chaos tribulation couldn't do anything to him. Only a true tribulation of primal chaos would be able to stop him. 9 destroys the heavens. Each of its 9 bodies possessed the same level of power, but each of them had different magical symbols on its chest. They represented the extremes. The so-called 9, 9-2, 9-3, 9-4, 9-5, upper 9 use 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, 9, whoosh. The claws were already upon Jiangli, making it impossible for him to dodge. Chapter 904. Primal Chaos Reversal. Attack the Void. Energy Eternity. Mutual Oblivion. 9 vortexes appeared within Jiangli's body. Each vortex was an ancient well, and the ancient well sucked in the claws of the will of the 3-dimensional universe, causing the tearing power of the claws to be absorbed by the ancient well. If he were on his own, he wouldn't have been able to absorb the power of 3. But now he had Ba Liming. Ba Liming transformed into a river of martial arts that floated in the air, fusing with Yang Qi's boundless great Taos. The 2 of them worked together, one of them giving up, the other of them caring. It was like the yin and yang of the Good Fortune Jade Disc. Even the attack of 3 could be absorbed. Of course, that was only possible because of the pressure of primal chaos. 3 had to fight back against its wrath, and as a result, its own power was weakened, which gave Jiangli a chance to take advantage of it. Despite all of the methods used to weaken the power of 3, Jiangli still felt like he was in danger of exploding. The power of 3 was so powerful that it was virtually impossible to neutralize it. As he did, the 129,600 drops of blood inside of him were filled to the brim and were on the verge of exploding into a blood-colored mist. If that happened, Jiangli's vital energy would be severely damaged, and he might even die. There was no way he could contain that much power. Thankfully, he had the mortal world. A passageway appeared inside of him that connected to the mortal world. In the blink of an eye, numerous vortexes sprang up in the mortal world, from which erupted vital energy. That vital energy wasn't primal chaos paleo-energy, but rather, it was similar to primal chaos paleo-energy, something that could rival primal chaos paleo-energy. Such powerful, vital energy. Countless experts in a mortal world gathered together to watch the vital energy pouring down from the vortexes. They immediately set up altars and activated spell formations to compress and store the vital energy. Crack, crack. The wills of everyone in the mortal world converged into vermilion blood loyal heart energy, which then began to dissolve the heterogeneous energy. The heterogeneous energy was condensed into mountainous piles, which served as reserves. There were some that couldn't be dissolved in time and scattered into the empty space. The sun, moon, stars, continents, and all kinds of primordial scenes immediately appeared within the space. Archaic divine beasts were also created and roared within. The heterogeneous energy of the third-dimensional universe is so powerful. It's almost exactly the same as primal chaos paleo-energy. Dream Paper Kite was also secretly astonished. She saw a space that was about 10 times the size of the Milky Way galaxy being slightly permeated by a strange energy. That space-time was originally empty, with nothing in it. But now, in the blink of an eye, many planets had appeared, and they were all planets that contained the strongest energy. In the starry sky, giant floating continents had appeared, and on these continents, godlike divine beasts were born. It was completely unimaginable. The strange energy of 3 could actually form a god. Although it didn't have the legendary primordial heavenly king's treasure trove, which could communicate with primordial chaos and seize divine vitality to create a grand emperor, it was still a divine ability that could pierce through heaven and earth. But for the mortal world, it was still a huge benefit. The more reserves they had, the more confidence they would have in the future when the war came. The desolate space-time was filled up and then dispersed. Those who had unsealed the curse absorbed it and cultivated all sorts of divine abilities. But now, they didn't cultivate magical treasures. After all, even magical treasures cultivated in the mortal world were adding power to the myriad treasures river. But now, everyone in the mortal world cultivated the limitless Great Tao. With this Great Tao, magical treasures were basically useless to them. The limitless Great Tao and true energy could transform into anything. Furthermore, the true energy they cultivated resonated with the limitless Great Tao and wouldn't be affected by the river. Even more amazing was that the martial Tao River had appeared. Everyone in the mortal world benefited from it. They cultivated martial arts, cultivated the Tao, and resonated with the limitless Great Tao. Rumble, rumble, the void realm. In the boundless void, withstanding the wrath of the chaos, 3 launched an even more violent attack. His body swayed from 9 to 10 million. A magnificent army of 10,000 men and horses attacked together. The vast and mighty energy in the depths of the third dimension transformed into a crushing force. They wanted to completely strangle Jiangli here and now. Even if he could absorb the energy and convert it into the reserves of the human world, they still wanted to kill him. So what if it was the mortal world? Now, the 3 was clearly trying to stuff Jiangli to death. If all the energy of the 3D universe was poured into the mortal world, 100 of them would explode. The 3D universe was an existence larger than the myriad worlds combined. Very good. Very good. Jiangli felt the bombardment, and thousands of vortexes appeared around his body. Each vortex corresponded to 3's attack. The body of 3 became even more ferocious. He had completely lost his elegant image and was even more domineering than Ba Liming. All things perish. He blasted out thousands of punches, and the fist technique had reached an indelible state. Each of his punches could create a new universe among the myriad worlds. Even Yuanshi didn't have such a powerful energy support. Jiang Li's body trembled, and the vortexes continued to absorb. He felt that 3 was simply sending himself to death. How could it be that easy to explode the mortal world? There were still hundreds of trillions of humans in the mortal world who hadn't broken the curse. He was ready to open the curse again and suck 3 dry. Don't fall for it. Just when he was about to open the curse for the humans on Earth, Ba Liming's voice appeared. This is his bait. He has already cultivated the strange energy to the point where he can control it at will. Now, all of it has entered your body and is transmitted to the human world. It wants to explode you. At this time, you have to break the curse of the human race. The moment you break the curse, the human race will retract the energy, and you will be in a difficult position. The mortal world will quickly collapse, so you must not open the curse and don't absorb the energy. Just dodge. In that moment of imminent peril, Jiangli dodged to the side. Using boundless space-time magic, he teleported to the other side of the void, causing 3's fist technique to miss. Rumble. Unfortunately for him, 3's fist technique was like a maggot on a tarsal bone. Shockingly, the fist technique was like a river that was trying to compete with the endless river of martial arts. It was a river of fist techniques. Unfortunately, he couldn't entrust it to the void. Entrusting it to the void required grand ideals and ideals. From ancient times until now, there have been countless martial arts experts who had attempted to entrust their martial arts, but none had ever succeeded. That was because their understanding of the Tao of martial arts was too shallow. The Tao of martial arts was not as simple as it seemed. As of this moment, Jiangli knew that he couldn't absorb 3's fist technique, nor could he fight it. The only thing he could do now was to summon more primal chaos palea energy. Primal chaos palea energy, come again. I'm going to take 3 down with me. He began to pray, using the grand sacrifice of primal chaos, causing the energy of hope to surge out and enter the primal chaos. The primal chaos was enraged. The face grew larger and larger. In the end, the face became a human head, and the lower half of the head became a huge hand. The lower half was still primal chaos, twisting and writhing like a dragon or snake. It looked very much like the ancient character For Tao. It was a humanoid form created by primal chaos. It howled like thunder. Both of his hands grabbed towards Jiang Li, and 3. Damn it, 3's eyes sharpened and became even angrier. Its anger seemed to be endless. The power of chaos has strengthened again. It seems that you really are the son of chaos, and you have come with the mission of destroying matter in the void. In that case, I will kill you. As of this moment, it truly seemed like a person. Bam! 3's body emitted a large amount of starry light. It was like a group of stars shining brightly. Within the glittering starlight were numerous corpses. They were the corpses of gods. There were true gods, elder gods, celestials, grand emperors, and even existences that surpassed grand emperors. It was impossible to say how many perished gods the three-dimensional universe had absorbed from the explosion of primal chaos and the creation of primordial chaos. The unyielding will of the legion of gods was also contained within it. It was filled with the resentment of the gods. No god wanted to fall, but they had no choice. When gods fell, the world began to decay. Their curses could cause even the passage of time to give rise to an aura of decay. The legion of gods fell into my body. I witnessed the twilight of the legion of gods, the fall of the legion of gods, the rise of the legion of gods, and the growth of the legion of gods. Now, I will bury you in the burial of the legion of gods. You are one of the legion of gods, and therefore you shall die in my body. Behind 3 appeared a boundless starry sky, filled with billions upon trillions of stars, the corpses of the legion of gods. Of course, they weren't true corpses, but rather the unyielding will of the legion of gods that had fallen into depravity. From ancient times until now, they were powerful enough to topple anything and everything. A low song began to resound in the starry sky behind it. The song was filled with sorrow, loneliness, unwillingness, and unyielding. It was the melody of a funeral. That's right, it was a funeral. Only funerals could have such music and singing. This was the burial of the Legion of Gods. Jiangli was also one of the Legion of Gods, and they wanted to bury him thoroughly and hold a funeral for him. Not good. Within this mystic art, Jiangli knew that he couldn't block it. Even the river of martial arts would be shaken, and Ba Liming wouldn't be able to defeat three. At this moment, a beam of light shot into the sky from the three-dimensional universe. The light merged with him and Ba Liming. It's Wang Chao. Jiangli sensed an aura that seemed to reverse everything. It was a familiar scent, the pillar of humanity. The three great experts of humanity. He, Ba Liming, and Wang Chao had finally joined forces to fight three. Chapter 905. The three masters of humanity had finally gathered. They were the three strongest, the most legendary, and the most mythical. When the three of them joined forces, it wasn't as simple as the three of them added together. They represented the entire human race. Humanity's powerful destiny won the hearts of millions. The three auras condensed into one, all of them supporting Jiangli's body. Jiangli immediately felt like he had broken through the river of time and reached a higher realm than living with heaven and earth. He had completely crossed the end of the river of time and transcended time itself. There was another realm above living with heaven and earth. Yuan Shi, the Heavenly Father, and even the three masters of Permethal were at that realm. Even the immortal world, martial world, and demon world heavenly wills were at that realm. Of course, the young man in front of him was the same. With the help of Ba Liming and Wang Chao, Jiangli was reborn and ascended. He fought against the primordial chaos and broke through time. By this time, the three young men had already arrived in front of the Legion God's funeral. The aura of the Legion God was so strong that it could bury any existence that surpassed the great Emperor realm. As long as they came into contact with it, they would immediately be buried and fused with the third dimension of the universe. But Jiang Li's current strength was completely different. He faced the funeral of the gods without flinching. His entire body was in a relaxed and natural state. Then he slowly pushed out his fist. The momentum of the fist was like a rolling wheel. No one could stop it. The funeral of the gods crumbled inch by inch under this fist art. But Jiangli didn't have it easy either. After all, this was a killing move of the three-dimensional heavenly will. How could it be so simple? His fist art was also crumbling, and cracks appeared on his body. Both sides were injured. Rumble. The moment the two clashed, Jiang Li's body crumbled, and the young man with the three actually began to fade, as if he was about to disappear into the dust of history. Good, very good. Wang Chao, I underestimated you. I thought you only had a little bit of ability. Now, it seems that I can't suppress you. However, my power is restrained by the myriad world celestial sphere. Now, I can only use 1% of my power, or even 1,000th of it. The moment you open Yuan Shi's treasure will be the moment I recover my power. I will come back. As he spoke, he disappeared. Jiang Li had used his fist technique to sever the connection between him and his main body, causing his will to dissipate. It was clear that he had not truly formed a body. Primal chaos vanish, Jiang Li said, and the enraged primal chaos vanished. The catastrophe was finally over. Oh, right. My goal was to take the Immortal Tower's planetary system, but I ended up fighting three. Now that three has been defeated, I have to go down and take it. Jiang Li recalled what had happened, and then realized that something strange was going on. The Immortal Tower and the brain of the universe's planetary system had disappeared. They couldn't be seen in the three-dimensional universe, and he had no idea where they had gone. Even if he used his most powerful techniques, he wouldn't be able to find any traces of them. The three-dimensional universe hid the yin and yang energies. The brain of the universe and the Immortal Tower were originally his pawns. The good fortune jade disk of the immortal world was also his crafty plot to get the two holy lands to use the power of yin and yang to suppress the myriad world celestial sphere. The voice of the ancestor of the martial Tao, Ba-Liming, rang out. Although it had transformed into a river, it still had its own will and was the model for all martial cultivators. So what do we do now? Zhongli asked. Is Wang Chao also hidden? Don't worry. Wang Chao has his own plans. He wants to absorb the essence of the brain of the universe and the immortal tower, adjust the yin and yang energies, and seize the lifeline of the three-dimensional universe. Then he can compete with Yuan Shi. You know, he's a substitute for Yuan Shi. When Yuan Shi came out, the first thing he wanted to do was possess him. But somehow, he gained enlightenment of an invincible nascent divinity and broke free of Yuan Shi's bindings. The will of the primordial heavenly king knew that he could no longer be possessed, so he began to nurture you. However, you're also very close to escaping his control. Ba-Liming continued. However, your involvement is far deeper than Wang Chao's. You have the key to the treasure trove, and you've assimilated it into your blood. You're inseparable from it. Karma entangles you, and in the future, you'll have to fight to the death. I'm afraid I won't be able to defeat this person, Zhongli said. This person's cultivation is extremely terrifying. If I fight him head-on, I'll die. Moreover, it seems that all humans in the human world have his bloodline. When the time comes, he'll use this bloodline to turn the human world upside down. We won't be able to do anything to him. That's his plan. All humans in the human world have his bloodline. However, he hasn't made a move yet because even if he activates his bloodline, we could suppress it. When the treasure trove is opened, it'll be completely different. All the treasures will belong to the person with his bloodline. At that time, they'll also open the curse, causing the human world to collapse instantly. There will be no leader, and everyone will be in a state of great ambition. In Yuan Shi's treasure trove, the Heavenly Father's primordial spirit is sealed, and the Book of Faith is inside. Therefore, the moment the treasure trove is opened, the bloodline of all humans on Earth will be opened, and the myriad worlds will collapse in an instant. The scene described by Ba-Liming, the ancestor martial arts, was similar to what Zhongli had imagined. However, there was one thing that Zhongli couldn't figure out. Why did Yuan Shi do this? Doesn't he want all humans to unite and fight against the chaos? Actually, the unity of all humans can't fight against the chaos. The three-dimensional universe is right about this. Ba-Liming sighed. In countless reincarnations, many people have done the same, but they all failed. Some even devoured all living beings, including the physical world, and turned them into their own power to fight against the chaos, but they still failed. In fact, even I don't know how to fight against the chaos. In those reincarnations, existences more powerful than Yuan Shi have appeared. They thought of all kinds of methods, but all of them failed. They couldn't stop the chaos from destroying the world. At most, they could only endure a few more reincarnations. In fact, the chaos is just letting them win. Why would the chaos let them win? Since they're absolutely invincible, there's no need to let them win. Zhongli seemed to have grasped the key point of the problem. This is to show that all laws are constant. In this world, there's always a chance of survival. Ba-Liming said, all these years, I've been comprehending the mysteries. Although I haven't thought of a way to fight against the chaos, I've understood a lot of principles. In fact, it's very possible that Yuan Shi has a plan in his heart to fight against the chaos, but it doesn't match your philosophy. My philosophy is still to gather the power of all living beings. I feel that all living beings can reach the heavens. Zhongli said, if Yuan Shi's path is different, I can't do anything about it. I can only fight against him. As the saying goes, those who walk different paths can't make plans together. It doesn't matter to me. Life and death are no longer bound to me. I can live and die at any time. Anyway, when a calamity comes, I'll just fight. It's just a pure fight. The ancestor of martial arts Ba-Liming said, my life is for fighting. As long as there's a fight, it's good. Dying in a fight is my long-cherished wish. You're so carefree, Zhongli sighed. If that's the case, then I'll have to plan. The human world that I've painstakingly built can't collapse just because the treasure trove is opened. How do you think I should plan for that? You're the ruler of the human world now. Think of a way to deal with these miscellaneous matters. You're more adept at it than I am. I only focus on martial arts. I'll use my martial arts to destroy the primordial chaos, and suppress nature. The ancestor of martial Tao said, "You still have to manage the human world. Other than that, I have a suggestion for you. First, you should subdue the martial world and merge it with the human world. That way, everyone in the human world will revere martial arts. That kind of atmosphere will be very useful for your battles. When the time comes, the boundless river of martial Tao and the river of martial Tao will merge into one." Of course, Zhongli said, "However, I also need to plan something big, and that is to merge the immortal world and human world. This way, the human world will truly become the first universe. Although it won't be comparable to the 3D universe, it won't be as passive as it is now." That's true. That's true. Everything will be arranged by you. At least for now, the 3D universe won't stop you. You can go all out now and break the heavenly realm of justice. You can subdue the devil, martial, dragon, Confucian, literary, book, painting, and other realms. You can expand it step by step until you can compete with the 3D universe. Ba Liming said, "The unification of the myriad worlds is actually a must. Gather the resources and strengthen yourself. Gathering the fate is better than being scattered. Although the people won't be able to contend against the primordial chaos, gathering them will make many things easier. The myriad worlds must be unified. This is the foundation. How will we fight against the primordial chaos in the future? Everyone will gather together and have more wisdom. I don't believe that the primordial chaos can't be defeated." Zhongli said, "However, if I want to unify the myriad worlds now, Higgin will definitely stop me. What he's doing is the same as me, gathering the resources to strengthen himself. On the other hand, the 3D universe's heavens doesn't gather the resources. He's not human. He's flawed. Moreover, he's already gathered the resources to the peak, but he's still planning a series of schemes. He mainly wants to devour Yuanshi and the Heavenly Father. I think he's also thought of his own way to deal with the primordial chaos. Even if he can't deal with the primordial chaos, it will still slow down the destruction of the world." Ba Liming said, "I've already turned into the river of martial Tao. I can't manifest my body in the physical world. Everything in the physical world can only be done by you. I feel that there are many places where your infinite Tao and my martial Tao can fuse. I'll control the river of martial Tao here and use my martial Tao to infiltrate the slaughter, kingly Tao, noble spirit, time, fate, and many other rivers." Chapter 906. Zhongli discussed with Ba Liming for a while more before leaving the Void Realm and returning to the human world. After the Void Realm's martial path river trembled, it stabilized. Large amounts of martial path, true qi spread out and surveyed the surroundings. It actually began to affect the operation of the other rivers. For example, the first to be affected was the river of massacre. What did one rely on to kill? Of course, it was martial arts. Without martial arts, there would be no killing. If one wanted to kill others, one needed martial strength. Therefore, the appearance of the martial path river caused the river of massacre to boil. Apart from that, the river of monarchs, the river of noble spirit, and even the river of destiny had slight fluctuations. What did the monarchs rely on to fight and promote the monarch Tao? It was also martial arts. The reason why righteousness was not extinguished was also because of martial arts. What did one rely on to change one's fate? It still depended on martial arts. As the saying went, the heavens moved vigorously, and so did the gentleman. How could one become stronger? That required martial arts. Martial arts contained almost all the motivation, struggle, passion, youth, and other things that made one passionate. Revenge and progress depended on martial arts. It was the foundation of oneself. The will of the martial path river spread out and naturally grew stronger, resonating with all living beings in the world. Balaming's cultivation was also getting stronger. However, if he appeared in the physical realm, he would lose power and energy. Someone had to offer sacrifices before he could appear. That was also the characteristic of the river. It circulated in the void, growing and multiplying endlessly. It was clearly different from the physical realm. He had become a different form of martial arts. Jiang Li was himself, and the river was a river. But it did not matter. Now that Jiang Li could summon it at any time, the Martial Path River would descend and resist the enemy together with the human world. Moreover, the Martial Path River was affecting the other rivers, especially the Noble Spirit River that was about to become the guardian of the righteous heaven realm. Rivers would also devour each other. It was a fusion of ideals. There were many rivers in history. For example, the River of Time was divided into the River of History, the River of Time, and the River of Time. Then, they merged with each other and formed the current river. Actually, the River of Monarchs and the River of Noble Spirit had something in common. The long River of Noble Spirit was the divine path. As the saying goes, divine on the inside, monarch on the outside. Apart from that, the River of Slaughter and the River of Martial Path had something in common. This was similar to the long rivers on the ground. Small streams converged to form rivers, and rivers converged to form oceans, growing and multiplying endlessly. When Jiang Li looked at the void realm from the human realm, he realized that the rivers were affecting each other, fighting and pulling at each other. His own boundless river was in the middle of it, and it was also shaking. However, his concept of limitlessness itself was transcendence and tolerance. Even fate could not assimilate him. Instead, it was tolerated by him. In fact, his infinite great Tao still had an explosive period. That was when his infinite great Tao condensed into 101 nomological laws and surpassed the great Tao of destiny. At that time, all the cultivators in the universe would know that the infinite great Tao surpassed destiny and was the #1 divine art. At that time, it would set off a wave of cultivation of the infinite grand Tao. If that was the case, it wouldn't be strange for the limitless river to erupt 10 times faster. Right now, he was only cultivating the infinite great Tao in the immortal world and the human world. He hadn't started cultivating in the other worlds yet. Once he started cultivating in the other worlds, his cultivation level would rise accordingly. In the past, he was a little afraid of being bombarded and killed by the River of Destiny. However, after the battle with San, his cultivation level rose again. Not long ago, he fought with an expert from the Nirvana realm. This kind of battle experience made him more and more valiant and powerful. He had a will to fight against the world and the chaos. However, to challenge the River of Destiny and make fate surrender to his infinite great Tao, it would be far from easy. He still had to accumulate momentum to increase his power and the reserves of the human realm. His next goal was just like what Balaming said, the martial realm. The martial realm had been a world of valiant invincibility since ancient times. Everyone practiced martial arts. Any martial arts rumors were passed down from the martial realm. All kinds of strange martial arts postures were brewing and fermenting. The martial realm is the first thing I want to integrate and subdue, and it's also the first thing to break the alliance of the 7 realms. Jiang Li's body settled for a while and integrated all the battle with San. He stored the experience in his body and slowly digested it. He felt that his cultivation level had risen again. He looked at the martial realm. The martial realm didn't look clear at first, but as his cultivation level rose to the current realm, he could completely see its true appearance. The martial arts giant kept showing martial arts in the depths of the space-time turbulence. The moves were never the same. Jiang Li even saw that the meridians in the martial arts giant's body were flowing with clouds. He was cultivating his inner force and inner breath. When a superior observed the changes of the martial arts giant, he could comprehend the strongest supernatural martial arts. However, at Jiang Li's current realm, he was higher than the superior and higher than the sky. Therefore, observing the martial realm to learn martial arts was nothing to him. The purpose of his observation was to find the flaws of the martial realm. Conquering the martial realm was much more difficult than integrating the blood realm. He integrated the Blood Realm that day because he had swallowed the envoy of destruction and obtained the power of the Son of Blood Realm. Therefore, he didn't suffer from the backlash of the Blood Realm's heaven's will. Another point was that the martial realm was much more powerful than the Blood Realm. If he tried to devour and integrate the martial realm now, he would definitely be resisted by the martial realm's heaven's will. Although there were many experts in the martial realm, there didn't seem to be any existence that surpassed the great emperor. It wasn't a big deal for him to sweep the martial realm, but if he encountered the resistance of the martial realm's heaven's will, it would be a huge obstacle. As an ancient existence, the martial realm's heaven's will was extremely powerful. If it was used to its fullest, Zhongli would have to retreat. Back then, even the Heavenly Father couldn't destroy the celestial world's heaven's will. He could only infiltrate and seduce the living beings of the celestial world, causing the entire celestial world to fall and the heavens' will to weaken. Therefore, if Zhongli wanted to conquer the martial realm now, he had to take this path. He had to first enter and spread his infinite great path. Whoosh! He took a step and arrived at the center of the martial realm. He wasn't stopped by the martial realm's heaven's will. Because he had the myriad world body and the soul of the myriad world's celestial ball, he wouldn't be stopped by any world. As long as he didn't destroy it, the heavens will couldn't kill him or punish him. When he reached the depths of the martial realm, he looked around. There were mountains, rivers, cities, countries, and sections. Even in the martial realm, there wasn't a truly unified dynasty like the heavenly court. That peerless martial emperor, who was the original Tianwu emperor, was known as the master of the martial realm. In fact, he was also the leader of one of the strongest sects in the martial realm. It was like the spring and autumn warring states period. The strongest country could command and call itself the overlord. The 5 hegemons of the spring and autumn period. That was all. They couldn't interfere with the internal affairs of other sections. As for the emperor, his words carried enormous weight. He could control the lives of his subordinates and ministers, even if it was a high official. Therefore, the reason why the martial realm didn't grow stronger was because it wasn't unified. There are as many sects in the martial realm as there are grains of sand. Zhongli looked for a long time and had a rough idea. Next, he would use his methods to support one sect and suppress another. The martial arts sect that the peerless martial emperor belonged to was called the Tianwu Divine Sect. It was the strongest force in the martial realm and occupied half of the land. However, the sect that opposed him was called the Dian Fist Sect. Although it wasn't as good as the Tianwu Divine Sect, it was secretly accumulating power and waiting for the next martial arts conference to seize the title of master of the martial realm. There was a rule in the martial realm. Every 10,000 years, a martial arts conference would be held. Each sect could send their own experts to compete. Whoever seized the title of the #1 expert would be the master of the martial realm. His sect would also be the strongest sect in the martial realm. This was equivalent to the title of the martial realm's chancellor. It's this Dian Fist Sect. Zhongli decided in an instant. He decided to help the Dian Fist sect master seize the position and control this person. Of course, with a glance, he could sense that there were countless emissaries of annihilation hiding in the depths of the martial realm. Even a martial realm's heavens couldn't detect them. The emissaries of annihilation carried the will of the primal chaos, so it was normal for the heavens to be unable to detect them. Even under normal circumstances, Zhongli wouldn't be able to detect them. However, with the absolute existence, he could completely see through the movements of all the emissaries of annihilation. From the looks of it, the Dian Fist sect definitely had emissaries of annihilation in hiding as well. However, the providence within was still clear, which meant that the upper echelons hadn't been infiltrated yet. After all, the martial realm's heavens was vigorous. If the emissaries of annihilation were too strong, they could still be discovered. However, the weak emissaries of annihilation wouldn't be able to seize power. Zhongli took another step forward and was already outside the Dian Fist sect. The buildings of the Fist sect were built like fists that supported the sky and were full of power. At this moment, it was actually very simple for him to blend in. He didn't need to start from a nobody. Walking step by step to the upper echelons was a sign that one's cultivation wasn't high enough. His gaze swept across and directly saw the core of the sect. Not to mention the Dying Fist sect, even the martial realm didn't have any secrets to him. In the independent space at the core, there seemed to be a divine weapon. This divine weapon was in the shape of a sphere and seemed to be a chaotic divine weapon. It was ash-white in color, and once activated, it would be impervious to all evils. There was a great emperor cultivating within it. That was the flickering great emperor of the Dying Fist Gate. This emperor's fist technique was fierce and extremely fast. He dominated the myriad realms, but he was suppressed by the peerless martial emperor and couldn't display his full power. Now, he cultivated day and night in an attempt to comprehend a stronger Tao so that he could defeat the peerless martial emperor in the next martial Tao convention and become the ruler of the martial realm. This person also had a great providence and seemed to be a key figure in the future. Jiang Li's body turned into data and seeped into the divine weapon sphere. He then arrived at the cultivation place of the flickering great emperor. He saw him sitting upright on a praying mat, breathing in and out while circulating his primordial spirit. The aura within his body was boiling nonstop as if it wanted to fuse with an indescribable force. Jiang Li was a little puzzled, because the cultivation of the flickering great emperor seemed to be resonating with a great force in the unseen world. That force was something that even Jiang Li couldn't figure out and didn't know where it came from. In other words, the flickering great emperor had become a chess piece of a great existence, and this great existence wasn't a force that Jiang Li knew of. It wasn't Yuan Shi, wasn't Heavenly Father, wasn't the three-dimensional universe, and it wasn't Permitha. What exactly was it? Could it be that there were still some old antiques hidden in the myriad realms? Chapter 907. This was no small matter. There were still old antiques in the depths of the myriad worlds. Old antiques were not at the level of the immortal tower or the brain of the universe. From the looks of it, they were just pawns of the old antiques. In Jiang Li's eyes, the old antiques were the Nirvana, three venerables, Yuan Shi, the Heavenly Father, and the 3D universe's heaven's will. Apart from them, there was really no existence that could threaten him. Destiny's Child had not grown up yet. He wasn't afraid of the primordial heavenly kings, made who held the immortal god lamp. If it weren't for the primordial heavenly king's plan, she would be his prey. Even the immortal god lamp would be taken away. As for the immortal tower and the master of the brain of the universe, with Jiang Li's current level of cultivation, he could completely destroy and suppress them. Of course, they were protected by the 3D universe's heaven's will, so there was nothing they could do. Right now, this Flicker the Great was cultivating and combining with the great existence. With the help of the power, his body began to transform. That power was something Jiang Li had never heard of before. He did not know where it came from, but it was very powerful in nature. It was the same aura as the Nirvana Venerables, Yuan Shi, the Heavenly Father, and the 3D universe's heaven's will. Where's this aura coming from? Jiang Li secretly unleashed the limitless divine art. Using the limitless dream realm to calculate, he could vaguely see that the traces of that power were not in the material world. It was also not in the void realm. Could it be? Could it be in the primal chaos? Jiang Li was shocked. He observed again and confirmed that the power this person was communicating with was indeed in the depths of the primal chaos. Through the primal chaos, it penetrated the void and reached the physical world. However, this was not the power of the primal chaos itself, but the creatures contained in the primal chaos. Impossible. After confirming this, Jiang Li did not dare to believe it. After the primal chaos explosion, all living creatures would go extinct, and then those creatures would be born in the physical world. Even if the master of the immortal tower and the master of the brain of the universe survived, they would still be squeezed into the physical world. The rules of the primal chaos were like this. The Big Bang produced the material world and the void world, and no living beings could survive in the main body. Then, the primal chaos would destroy the world, and all the living beings in the material world would be wiped out. A few new ancient creatures would be bred in the main body, and then there would be a big explosion, and the ancient creatures would be wiped out. The cycle continued like this. In short, in the thousands of cycles of reincarnation, as long as the physical world existed, the main body of chaos would not have any living beings. If there were living beings in the main body, the physical world would not exist. Now that the physical world still existed, how could there be living beings in the main body? All of a sudden, a thought appeared in Jiang Li's mind. He recalled what the third dimension universe had said. The primal chaos was supposed to destroy the world. It was all about fighting for a chance of survival. There would always be a few who obtained great luck and could survive the calamity, successfully avoiding reincarnation and not being destroyed. But this time, the heaven's will of the third dimension universe said that everything had to be destroyed, leaving no life force behind. This meant that the chaos itself had changed. What was the change? Could it be that the primal chaos had violated the rules and bred an ancient creature? In the thousands of cycles of reincarnation, the primal chaos that was undefeated, undying, and indestructible had also started to decay. In that case, Jiang Li felt that he had come a good time. His luck wasn't bad. If there was no problem with the primal chaos, no method would be able to destroy it or contend against it. If there was a problem, there would be a 1 in 10,000 chance for him to surpass reincarnation. An ancient creature has appeared in the primal chaos. This is earth-shattering news. Jiang Li began to plan. He couldn't help but feel excited. He was originally in despair, but now his mind was lively. Indeed, after the battle with the third dimension universe and the conversation with Ba Liming, he was in deep despair because the primal chaos could not be defeated at all. In the thousands of cycles of reincarnation, there were even existences stronger than Yuanshi, but they were all crushed by the primal chaos. Even if he had great luck, he was just one of them. He felt that he could not defeat the primal chaos. Now it was different. His mind was quick-witted, and the aura of despair was eliminated. He was filled with hope, and he felt refreshed. His cultivation seemed to have sprouted and improved a little. That ancient creature in the primal chaos doesn't seem to dare to pass through the primal chaos and come to the material world. It can only secretly arrange a chess piece. In that case, there's an opportunity. Jiang Li kept thinking. The flickering heavenly emperor was still cultivating and absorbing energy. Rays of light surged from his body as he prepared a supreme killing formation. After a long time, the aura gradually dissipated. This allowed the flickering heavenly emperor to stand up and stop cultivating. His face was full of battle intent. Peerless martial emperor, this time, you didn't expect that I would receive the help of a visitor from beyond the heavens. My cultivation has increased to an unfathomable level. When the martial arts competition begins, my grand development Fistgate will break your divine ability and suppress you. I will be the supreme ruler of the martial world, the master of the martial world. The flickering great emperor couldn't wait to go out and start a massacre. Jiang Li didn't make a move. He was still waiting to see what kind of tricks the flickering heavenly emperor would play. After venting for a while, the flickering heavenly emperor pondered, what kind of person is that outsider? Why would he like me? There is no free lunch in this world. He must be using me as a chess piece. I have to be careful about this. Although it is true that my strength has increased, I definitely can't contend against such an existence. It seems like I have to find a powerful backer. Let the tiger devour the wolf, and both sides suffer. Only then will I be able to reap the benefits. However, which powerful backer should I find? Currently, it seems that only Permitha can rely on me, but that group of people is even more ruthless. Although he was thinking in his heart, his thoughts had been completely spread out. This allowed Jiang Li to understand his thoughts at a glance. I can help you solve your worries. At this time, Jiang Li finally stopped hiding and revealed his body. He directly condensed his body in front of the flickering heavenly emperor. Who are you? The flickering heavenly emperor was shocked and couldn't believe his eyes. Lord of the human realm. Flickering great emperor, I'm here to save you. You've already been targeted by the ancient devil in the depths of the primal chaos. Although he's giving you energy, he's actually controlling you. Once your cultivation reaches a certain level, he'll appear and take over your body. You'll become his shell. Right now, you don't have much value, so he's slowly nurturing you. You have a good idea, and you've also noticed the danger you're in. Lord of the human realm, it is you. We are enemies. The flickering heavenly emperor was ready to fight, but he found that all the space was sealed. He was simply not on the same level as Jiangli. Don't act rashly. I am not your enemy. I am here to save you. You also know the rules of the human realm. There is absolute freedom, no oppression, no hierarchy. Jiangli said, we are the human realm. Perfect space-time. Don't you want to defeat the peerless martial emperor? I will help you realize this opportunity. At the same time, I will let you truly master the martial realm and integrate into the human realm. You want the martial realm to be like the blood realm? Integrate into the human realm. Your appetite is too big. The flickering heavenly emperor knew that there was no way to resist Jiangli, so he calmed down and began to negotiate. This is nothing. You can see that the human realm is flourishing. In time, it will integrate with the immortal realm. It is normal to integrate martial arts, dragons, and demons. Jiangli said, moreover, our ancestor martial arts, Baliming, has already escaped. The immortal tower's star domain is heavily injured. Do you see the river of martial arts in the depths of the void realm? As expected, the river of martial arts. The flickering heavenly emperor quickly sensed it, and his face turned pale. I originally thought that the martial realm is the ancestor of all martial arts. In terms of understanding of martial arts, the martial realm is the true number one. Now, it seems that the ancestor of martial arts has surpassed the martial realm. I'm also a person who is proficient in martial arts and devout in martial arts. In that case, I will listen to your arrangements. What do you want me to do? Also, what kind of existence is the otherworldly guest that gave me power? That is a change in the chaos. An ancient creature has appeared in the body. This reincarnation is very likely to be our chance. Whether we can transcend reincarnation or not depends on this. So you have to choose well. If you choose wrong, you will be consigned to eternal damnation. If you choose right, you will be immortal. Jiangli warned. The flickering heavenly emperor was sweating profusely after hearing this. Master of the human realm, I will listen to you. I can't resist now anyway. In my opinion, the alliance of the seven realms against the human realm is indeed a joke. The flickering heavenly emperor was a person who could see things clearly. In fact, anyone with a discerning eye would know that the alliance of the seven realms was just a small group of people who wanted to encircle a large number of people for their own selfish desires and hatred. In fact, the flickering heavenly emperor did not have any hatred towards the human realm. Now that he had obtained a backer, why not? The most important thing was that he wanted to find Higgin as his backer. However, he was not sure of Higgins' character. Now that he had found the human realm as his backer, the reputation of the human realm was well known. Not only that, the appearance of the river of martial arts had indeed shaken his beliefs. He believed that the martial realm was not the true martial Tao. The river of martial arts in the human realm was the true martial Tao. Where is the son of martial arts? Jiangli asked. This was the most crucial point. The information about the son of martial arts was concealed by the martial realm's heaven's will. It was not easy for him to calculate. Although he could forcibly calculate it, he was afraid that it would cause the martial realm's heaven's will to retaliate. Therefore, Jiangli was now infiltrating from the inside. As long as he obtained the son of martial world, there would be no obstacles in merging the martial world. The son of martial world is currently being controlled by the peerless martial emperor. He has other ideas. The son of martial world is a man, and the son of dragon world is a woman. The two of them seem to be together. The flickering heavenly emperor said, what? They're really together? Then wouldn't the existence that was born have both the dragon and the supreme, true meanings of martial arts? Jiangli frowned. If that's the case, I have to use other methods. What other methods are you going to use? The flickering heavenly emperor hurriedly said, I seem to have heard about the place where they are getting together. It's not in the martial world, nor is it in the dragon world. It's in a very mysterious ancient ruin. Chapter 908. This kind of secret shouldn't be known by you. The final union of the son of the dragon world and the son of the martial world is a great secret between the two realms. Apart from the heaven's will of the two realms, no one else knows about it. How did you find out about it? Zhongli was skeptical. The son of the dragon world and the son of the martial world had extraordinary statuses. If they were to marry, even the lord of the dragon world and the lord of the martial world wouldn't know about it, because no one could guarantee that the lord of the two realms would also be infiltrated. Only the heaven's will was the safest. I comprehended in silence and obtained the will of the visitor from the outer realm. I felt some clues, but I don't know which ancient ruin they're in exactly. Flickering Emperor told the truth. He knew that lying in front of Zhongli wouldn't do him any good. In fact, he was secretly delighted to be able to rely on such a powerful existence like the Lord of the human world was like a duckweed in the wind. Although he had contacted the visitor from the outer realm, he knew that the guy was a peerless demon who could take over his body at any time. And the Lord of the human world wouldn't do such a thing. The reputation of the Lord of the human world had already spread. He followed the path of absolute order and paid attention to the law, rules, and reason. This bit of reputation was very useful. If it was the netherworld, no matter how powerful the person was, no one would believe it. Zhongli also noticed this point. This flickering emperor really wanted to rely on him because he wanted to find a backer. This kind of person would be dealt with according to the law and would be given preferential treatment. However, Zhongli felt that this person was very valuable because this person could obtain information about the visitors from outer space from him and even his own energy. If another ancient creature was born in the primordial chaos, it would definitely be a change in the primordial chaos and it began to decay. In this way, Zhongli would be the first to come into contact with the inside story. All right, from now on, Flickering Emperor, you are a member of the human world. And if the visitor from the outer realm is trying to control you, I will analyze him and capture his energy. Zhongli, as for the matter regarding the son of the martial world and the son of the dragon world, I will calculate it. Now, I need to obtain the supreme profound from the depths of the primordial chaos. What should I do now? Flickering Emperor listened to Zhongli's arrangements. It's very simple. Just wait. Wait for the guest from beyond the heavens in the depths of the primal chaos to communicate with you again. Then I will connect to your mind and see what kind of terrifying existence the guest from beyond the heavens is. Don't worry. Of course, before that, I will check your body to see what the visitor left in your body that day, Zhongli said. I also feel that there are hidden dangers in my body. Flickering Emperor felt that something was wrong. Flickering Emperor of the world. Sit down. Zhongli gestured for Great Emperor to sit down. After that, he opened his mouth and spat out the infinite divine mantra, sealing off the entire place. Even the martial arts river deep in the void realm penetrated down, forming an invisible protective circle that made the place truly impervious to all evil. Great Emperor felt safe and immediately nodded. All right, said Zhongli. Now I'm going to use the power of the mortal world to turn your body into vital energy and the purest magical symbols. It won't hurt you at all and will actually improve your cultivation base. It's just that the process will be a bit painful. That's the only way I'll be able to find out what strange things are inside your body. On the spot, Great Emperor exploded, turning into balls of exquisite vital energy. Some of the vital energy transformed into yin and yang, some into the yin and yang of Tai Chi, some into the 3 talents and 4 divisions, and some into the 5 elements and 6 directions. Shatter again. Zhongli unleashed another palm strike, shattering Grand Empress Flickerstar's monarch godhood. Cracking sounds rang out as his monarch godhood transformed into magical symbols. Many runes floated up and down. The flickering Great Emperor did not groan. It could be seen that this person was rather strong-willed. True flame refining God, boundless flame. Zhongli examined the shattered vital energy and didn't find anything special about it. Therefore, he unleashed his trump card. He spat out a mouthful of true energy, which burned with raging flames. Unexpectedly, it was a combination of his own power, which he used to create a life essence true flame. The flame swirled in the air, roaring as he began to refine the flickering Grand Emperor. Grand Emperor's flicker star let out a long howl. She couldn't take it. The pain was so intense that not even a Grand Emperor could endure it. It was easy to imagine how cruel it was. Of course, Grand Emperor's flicker star knew that she wasn't trying to refine him, but rather refine his vital energy and extract anything that wasn't suitable for her. Refine him again, Zhongli said. He had been refining Flicker Star for a long time, but there was still no reaction. That was when he realized that the outsider had hidden his true strength. That said, he was confident that he had left something inside of Grand Empress Flicker Star, and that he wouldn't be offering it to her selflessly. Therefore, he increased the intensity of the refining process. Sizzle, sizzle. Grand Empress Flicker Star was on the verge of disintegrating into green smoke. Finally, the vital energy inside of her split apart, revealing a tiny speck of light. It was the size of a mustard seed, and within it was a burning flame that seemed to be forming a fetus. So that's what it is, Zhongli said. As expected, it's this thing. This is the chess piece left behind by the visitors from beyond the heavens. It's this thing that's going to devour all of your essence, and even your luck in the end. Then, it'll take over your body. It seems like my plan was correct, said Zhongli. What do we do? Grand Empress Flicker Star said anxiously. Save me, Lord of the world of men. Save me. He had been hoping to get lucky, but now he knew he couldn't do so. In fact, he was already filled with fear. Calm down. I'm going to remove the thing in your body now. It's just a seed. Zhongli observed carefully and suddenly had an idea. If I remove it now, it will definitely cause a backlash. That thing's cultivation is not to be underestimated. If it attacks, I'm afraid that both of us will be injured and the human world will also be damaged. It's not worth it. I have an idea now, and that is to beat it at its own game. I'll plant the strongest seed in your body. This way, every time you absorb energy, it will be stored in the seed endlessly. Once you've accumulated enough energy, I'll take the seed away. At the same time, I'll use my ancient well to trigger a great tribulation and inject the energy of this tribulation into the seed. Is this really possible? Grand Empress Flicker Star was skeptical. After all, this matter was related to her life, so she had to consider it carefully. Trust me, I won't harm you. Moreover, my plan is to use the outsider as a stable source of energy. With my seed, the energy stored in your body will be greatly increased. This will cause the outsider's energy to be continuously injected into your body, draining him dry. He'll only think that your strength is rising steadily, so he'll continue to pour energy into your body. When you're at your strongest, he'll take over your body. It's very likely that due to some reason, his true body won't be able to break through the primal chaos and reach the material world. We'll make use of this opportunity. Zhongli transmitted his plan to the depths of Grand Empress Flicker Star's mind. Grand Empress Flicker Star calmed down. She nodded. Zhongli immediately began to work on his technique. After a long moment, a seed of truth appeared inside of him, filled with boundless divine abilities, as well as a will to devour. The seed was like an illusory bubble, a dream that didn't even exist. Without a trace, it entered the body of Grand Empress Flicker Star. Grand Empress Flicker Star returned to her body and found that her yuan qi and energy were much purer. Honorable Lord of the human realm, what should I do now? She was respectful, knowing that she had completely become a part of the human realm. From now on, she drew a clear line with the martial realm. Very well. Zhang Li's mind began to calculate. Immediately communicate with the outsider and ask for energy. I believe he'll be very happy to inject energy into you, because even if you're 10 times stronger, you'll still be nothing more than an ant in his eyes. As for me, I'll use the seed to observe him and absorb his energy. Now, I'm a part of you. Stealing the outsider's life force will give you great karma. All right. Grand Empress Flicker Star sat down and began to cultivate. Dense and mysterious runes appeared on his body. They seemed like primal chaos, but at the same time, they weren't. Suddenly, a hole appeared on the top of his head. From the depths of the hole, energy poured down, filling up his body in no time. However, it was different this time. The seed that Jiangli planted in his body also began to absorb the energy. Just like that, the outsider's power only spun slightly, but it was absorbed by Jiangli. Jiangli began to refine the energy, which was dark red in color. It was completely different from primal chaos paleo energy and the heterogeneous power of the third-dimensional universe. Sizzle. BZZZZBZ. As Jiangli refined the power, dazzling light appeared inside of him, and in the depths of that light, he could see something floating in the depths of primal chaos. That's the thing. Jiangli locked onto it. He wanted to see what was inside the chaos. Of course, seeing through the primal chaos was easier said than done. In the depths of chaos, even the primordial heavenly king of heaven could not see through it. Normally speaking, there shouldn't be anything there, but now there was something strange. Jiangli wanted to grab hold of that hope. Although it was terrifying, it was still possible to transcend the cycle of reincarnation. The thing didn't seem to sense that Jiangli was spying on it, and continued to pour power into it. However, Jiangli could tell that it would be very difficult to deal with. Even if he could see what it was, he wouldn't be able to do anything to it. What incredible power! It's definitely not the will of primal chaos. Jiangli continued to analyze the thing. All of a sudden, he realized that it looked like a fetus and that it wasn't fully formed. Don't tell me. It's a child of primal chaos, not hope? Jiangli was shocked. Chapter 909. No, this outsider isn't a child of primal chaos. Jiangli observed again and again, and finally confirmed that if this was the son of chaos, then he would have a supreme aura that could destroy everything and absorb all destiny. Jiangli would have felt fear in his heart, and even felt great terror in the depths of his heart. But now he just felt that it was strange. It was like a tumor had grown in the depths of primal chaos. Good, very good. Something has happened to the primal chaos. Joy appeared on his face again. It seems that this embryo has profound intelligence, but it is suppressed by the primal chaos and has been stealing. I don't know why this flickering great emperor communicated with this existence and was targeted. He suddenly asked, "Flickering great emperor, did you hold a sacrificial ceremony recently?" "How do you know?" "Not long ago, I killed the wretch god and held a sacrificial ceremony. It wasn't a sacrifice to primal chaos, but to the martial world's will. However, in the process of the sacrificial ceremony, an emissary of annihilation appeared and disrupted the ceremony. I chased the emissary of annihilation away, but the sacrificial ceremony changed. I didn't know that the sacrificial ceremony had shifted to that existence. From then on, that existence targeted me and poured its power into me. Although I received an increase in power, I suffered unspeakably and was constantly on edge," said Great Emperor Flash. "Very good. So that's how it is. I accidentally sacrificed to the tumor freak in the depths of primal chaos." Jiangli nodded. "If that's the case, we can find a chance to absorb it. If a freak is born in primal chaos and we absorb it, won't we indirectly help it?" Flickering Great Emperor was a bit confused. "That's fine," Jiangli said. "The essence of primal chaos has changed. Even if we absorb this freak, another freak will appear, and we may not be able to absorb it. This freak's power is terrifying. Once it is born, I won't be able to stop anything that happens to primal chaos, but is also a stable source of energy for the human world. I was worried about the lack of energy in the human world, but now it doesn't matter. The freak's power poured in endlessly, but it was absorbed by the seed that Jiangli had set up and settled in the depths of the human world. Many more dimensions appeared in the depths of the human world. These dimensions all contained this kind of energy of very high quality, almost on par with primal chaos paleo energy. It could also give birth to and create all things. This was actually quite normal. That freak had been born from primal chaos, so it was only natural that it would have primal chaos paleo energy. In his consciousness, Jiangli saw that in the depths of the human realm, energy was surging. Once again, it was penetrated by countless runes and transformed into endless true energy for the cultivators in the human realm. Those cultivators, according to their own contribution points and the wealth in the chip, could purchase an unlimited amount of true chi origin energy. Not just anyone could absorb it. Without the AI chip and identity in the human world, even an emperor would not be able to breathe and absorb the vitality in the human world. This system prevented the human realm from collapsing due to the large number of experts. To the heaven and earth, humans would only blindly take from them. They would never contribute to the heaven and earth. However, the system set by Zhongli was a step further than the Immortal Tower. You had to contribute by exchanging your wealth for the vitality of your cultivation. Only then would the stability of the human world be maintained, and it wouldn't collapse due to excessive demands from others. But now, the immortal world had also begun to implement this system. In Zhongli's eyes, after the immortal world began this reform, the entire world bloomed with an intense luster. It was equivalent to a slave society stepping into a feudal society. Not only did the world begin to evolve, but cultivators also began to feel pressure and motivation. Of course, many cultivators weren't willing to live a comfortable life. Unfortunately, this was the general trend, and heavens will approved of it. Those cultivators had no choice but to either leave or fight back and die. Zhongli proposed a philosophy. Heaven and earth nurtured you, and you had to contribute to heaven and earth. Both sides should exchange equal value, each taking what they needed. Because of this, the human realm grew stronger and stronger. It wasn't like he was robbing people everywhere. The emperor of the human realm was an independent system that replaced heaven's will. Everyone connected to the network and cultivated psychic arts, strengthening heaven's will and obtaining wealth in the form of immortal coins. People could then use their wealth to buy vital energy for cultivation. This was the way to long-term stability. However, in the celestial world, Great Dream Crown Prince tried to reform, but nothing happened because he didn't have enough prestige. Even Luo Feng's reform was met with many obstacles. Without the support of the human realm, plus she was the son of the celestial world, she wouldn't have been able to reform at all. This was still the human realm. The rules that were set when they were at their weakest had become the iron law that couldn't be shaken. If not for the human realm's support and the fact that she was the son of the celestial world, she wouldn't have been able to reform at all. The human realm has another stable source of energy. In the depths of the human realm, Dreamkite looked at the space that started to store energy. She nodded her head. Before the calamity arrives, the more energy we store, the better. Hong Heiyu came up and looked at the energy. He already knew a series of things. He squinted his eyes. I didn't expect there to be so many changes in the depths of chaos. Whether or not we can transcend reincarnation depends on Zhongli. I didn't expect the disciple I accepted to be the key to transcending reincarnation. Who would have thought that? I wonder if Zhongli will succeed in taking over the martial realm this time. However, no one can shake the human realm for now. The Martial Path River in the sky is shocking. Hua Ludao looked at the Martial Path River in the sky and knew that it was formed by the ancestor of Martial Path, Baliming. Flicker, Great Emperor, cultivated here. With Zhongli's help, he absorbed a portion of the vital energy and left it in his body. It settled down and turned into the infinite Great Tao. He also started to cultivate the infinite Great Tao. The infinite martial arts allowed him to come into contact with the essence of the martial realm. He even knew that the martial realm's understanding of the martial Tao wasn't enough. He started to transcend the restraints of the martial realm's origin. Zhongli was promoting him. He wanted him to amaze the world with his cultivation and seize the title of the master of the martial realm. This way, he could speed up the integration of the martial realm. However, he had to find the place where the son of the dragon realm and the son of the martial realm intersect. Once he subdued them, he could obtain the orthodoxy of the dragon realm and the martial realm. Then he could completely integrate the Seven Realms Alliance and isolate the Justice Heaven realm. When the Seven Realms were taken into the human realm, Zhongli's strength would reach the limit. At that time, he would open the Myriad Realm's celestial sphere and obtain Yuanshir's treasure. However, Zhongli couldn't find out where the two people were in the ruins. There were too many gaps between the Myriad Realms. There were too many secrets. Even if his cultivation was like Yuanshir's, He couldn't find out all the secrets. However, he wasn't in a hurry. He sat down and communicated. He believed that only one existence knew everything, and that was the chaos. The chaos was omnipotent. If the son of the dragon realm and the son of the martial realm intersect, it would be a huge matter. Great luck would combine and give birth to even greater luck. This might not be able to hide from the chaos. This was also a tribulation. The chaos would definitely send an emissary of destruction to attack. This way, as long as Ju knew the movements of the emissary of destruction, he would be able to find the ruins where they intersected. Ju quickly sensed the aura of the emissary of destruction, ordered Jiangli, communicating with Ju. Ju was half-human now, and his cultivation was becoming more and more tyrannical. He was a mutant, so he was more familiar with the emissary of destruction than anyone else. Therefore, he also started to comprehend it. After a long time, he suddenly opened his eyes. Many powerful emissaries of destruction are gathering. They seem to be gathering in the depths of the space-time turbulence in the primordial battlefield. Primordial battlefield? Jiangli immediately cast his gaze over and saw the depths of the space-time turbulence. Boundless primordial chi was surging and dissipating, forming a dead zone larger than the immortal realm. There were countless desolate primordial ruins in this dead zone. This was the primordial battlefield. It was rumored that at the beginning of the world, the primal chaos had exploded and the myriad of worlds had yet to condense into form. Many tyrannical ancient life forms appeared, as well as powerful emperors, overlords, ambitious heroes, and magnates. At that time, it was a chaotic mess. Battles were fought everywhere, and countless ancient overlords fell. Generation after generation of heroes grew up. That was the primordial era, and the later era was called the primordial era. Yuanshi fought his way out and finally stood at the peak. His title was Yuanshi. The universe's creation era began with the primordial era, and then came the primordial era. During the primordial era, countless experts fought, and even now, there were still remnants of ancient experts left behind. That was the primordial battlefield, a special existence among the myriad of worlds. The character who ended the primordial era was Yuanshi. He created the primordial era and caused the universe to walk on a brand new path. After Yuanshi was the desolate era. At that time, he had already fallen, and the myriad of worlds began to fight again. After the desolate era was the modern era, and then came the modern era. The primordial era, desolate era, modern era, and modern era. The era that Jiangli lived in was the modern era. But the appearance of the world destroyer emissary meant that the modern era had passed, and the myriad of worlds welcomed the end of the era. In other words, the final moments. So they interacted in the primordial battlefield. Maybe they found the aura of some ancient overlord of the martial world. Let me see what kind of expert appeared in the martial world during the primordial era. Jiangli began to search for ancient information, communicating with Ju once again. Ju immediately sent a message. It's like this: in the ancient martial world, a strongest expert appeared. He fought with Yuanshi for the sharpness. Although he lost in the end, he hid and seemed to be cultivating. But in the end, he still fell. But in his ruins, there were all his cultivation and knowledge. Strongest expert? Jiangli laughed. That's not that strong. At most, he was an existence that surpassed the heavenly emperor realm. He didn't condense a martial path river, and his cultivation base was only ordinary. You can't say that. Ju said, to condense a long river, one needs to have great enlightenment and opportunity. For example, you condensed an endless long river, but the three Permithov venerables didn't, but their cultivation base is higher than yours. Chapter 9-10. After settling down, the flickering great emperor, Jiangli left the martial world once again and headed for the primordial battlefield in the depths of the space-time turbulence. The battlefield was created by boundless, baleful aura, willpower, and unyielding resentment. Anyone who entered it, even a great emperor, would be affected by it and become mentally deranged. Therefore, since ancient times, Many experts had entered the battlefield to search for treasures, but they had basically never returned. Jiangli was fine when he entered the Immortal Tower. After all, his current abilities were even higher than the owner of the Immortal Tower. No matter how powerful the baleful aura and resentment aura were, they could be absorbed by his infinite great Tao and be converted into pure mental energy, allowing his spirit force to erupt. Of course, with his current strength, absorbing too much energy and mental energy would be of no help. The most important thing for him now was to comprehend it. Comprehend the profoundness, comprehend the true meaning of the great Tao, and search for opportunities to increase his strength. He could even surpass the limits and reach the strongest realm. The Grand Mist battlefield was filled with incomparably chaotic, immemorial, baleful chi and dense fog. Even if a great emperor entered, he wouldn't be able to see what was in front of him. Entering deep into the Grand Mist battlefield was equivalent to falling into the fog. Moreover, as long as one entered, one would be unable to come out. The space-time inside wasn't unchanging, but it changed frequently. Zhongli didn't care. He entered deep into it and began to search. As expected, he had already lost his way in the primordial fog. The space-time was like a maze, constantly changing. His eyes shot out and instantly saw through all the changes. More importantly, no matter how the space-time was reversed, he could suppress it and even change the primordial battlefield step by step. However, he didn't make such a big move. His body followed the reverse space-time and advanced forward to search. He had a target, and he could sense the powerful envoy of annihilation. As expected, there were countless ancient ruins floating in the primordial battlefield. They were all left behind by supreme beings in the primordial era. In the primordial era, there were many experts. They were the first batch of the strongest life forms born from the Big Bang. At the beginning, Yuan Shi was a weakling. However, as he progressed, he reached the peak. However, in the primordial era, great emperors were insignificant figures and couldn't be called magnates. Only existences that surpassed great emperors were magnates. However, despite having the same lifespan as heaven and earth, they could still fall in battle. Therefore, if he was lucky, he might be able to find the origin of the river of time left behind by the ancient powerhouses in the primordial battlefield. During the Big Bang, the river of time source was scattered everywhere, and some life forms were even born from it, possessing the same lifespan as heaven and earth. However, it was ironic that none of those life forms had the same lifespan as heaven and earth. This was also the cycle of the heavenly Tao. It was not at all satisfying. Thinking of this, Zhongli couldn't help but sigh. The strong will eventually disappear, while the weak will be able to stand at the peak. This is the power of time and heavenly Taos. In primordially, emperor in the emperor in, and primordial world. He also sensed many ruins, but he did not go in to explore. Dragon world and Earth, too. World was Arrow world. If Tian world and King spirits more, he would emperor. There the emperor there, saint. If Tian world and King spirits more were to be devoured, the Dragon world and King spirit world's fate would be greatly damaged. This would be detrimental to Jiang Li's future plans. If they were to be devoured, the Dragon world and King spirit world would suffer great damage. This would be detrimental to Jiang Li's future plans. In other words, the myriad worlds could not suffer any losses. The more Jiang Li killed, the more he could delay the end of the world. It's up ahead. Suddenly, he stopped. He saw the ancient ruins hidden in the depths of the primordial battlefield. The space was constantly changing, but it was very familiar to him. He had already locked onto the ruins. The ruins of the strongest warrior. The strongest warrior was a legend in the King Spirit world. When the King Spirit world was still developing, he had already dominated the world. His battle prowess was extraordinary, and he had even fought against Yuan Shi. Although he had lost, his glory had shocked the ages. This ruin is quite mysterious. It seems to be a martial arts dojo. Jiangli looked around and found that the building was similar to the dojos on Earth. There were many human stances on top. Apart from that, there were sandbags, rattans, swords, spears, and other equipment everywhere. They were ancient, simple, and a combination of the secular world. It was not the ruins of an expert at all. However, Jiangli could see that this was the return to simplicity. It was no longer a martial arts move, but a lingering charm. It was the lingering charm of the most insignificant creature seeking martial arts and the Tao. This smell was worth playing around with. He gently transformed and landed in this dojo. It was as if he had returned to the scene of practicing martial arts in the depths of his childhood memories. Anyone would return to that time, and their minds would be affected by the initial pursuit of martial arts. If Ba Liming, the ancestor of martial arts, let people see the extreme of martial arts, then the strongest warrior let people see the initial heart of martial arts. What was the initial heart? Find the original heart. Jiangli strolled in this dojo. He did not look for the son of the dragon world or the son of the martial world because he knew that if he were to look for them, he would not be able to find them, unless he used violence. However, if he used violence, it would cause the strongest warrior to retaliate. Although he was not afraid, it was unnecessary. If he did so, wouldn't he be no different from the destroyer envoy? The initial heart of martial arts. Very good. Jiangli caressed the wooden dummy and the sandbag. These were actually illusions. It was just a part of the martial arts in his heart. If it were other martial arts experts, the initial heart in their heart would appear. The initial heart is not the true heart. The heart is the sincerity. Forget your infatuation. Only then can you obtain the unintentional. Suddenly, Jiangli recited 4 verses of Gatha. This was the final Gatha condensed from the infinite great Tao. The final law of the infinite great Tao was the unintentional. The law of the unintentional was to forget the true meaning. From a nothingness, it was to pursue the realm of existence and non-existence. This was the infinite great Tao, the great true Tao. Rumble. The power of the 4 verses of the Gatha grew stronger. This was the collision of thoughts. The thoughts of the strongest warrior began to collide. This collision did not care about strength. It depended on whose thoughts were closer to the truth, closer to the supreme law. The initial heart was not the true heart. The heart was the sincerity. Forget your infatuation. Only then can you obtain the unintentional. The 4 verses represented Jiangli's Tao, Jiangli's infinity. His truth was contained within. Inexorably, it was in harmony with the supreme law. Crackle. Suddenly, the memories of his childhood were all swept clean. What replaced it was a shrine. In the shrine, there was an altar. On the altar, a tall warrior sat cross-legged. That warrior was the strongest warrior. His body was still there, but it was long dead. After the baptism of time, it was a little decayed. However, a gold-like divinity flowed out of his body. Although the divinity was not as strong as the bones of the Heavenly Father, it had the existence of the origin of time. And below the altar, below the strongest warrior, a man and a woman were cultivating. They hugged each other, and their yuan qi soared into the sky, transforming into a brand new fetus. That fetus had the aura of the dragon world and the martial world. It was the dragon martial god, and the strongest warrior's aura descended and enveloped the two. No one conveyed. Jiangli came out quietly, not alarming the two present. Although he had broken the strongest warrior's restrictive magic, this was the core shrine ruins. The power left behind by the strongest warrior was still here. He could not act rashly. Keek keek, suddenly a chilly wind blew, and the envoy of annihilation appeared. They came directly from the depths of the void and disappeared without a trace. They turned into black shadows and attacked the sons of the dragon world and the martial world. However, before those black shadows could get close, they were repelled by an invisible force. That was the majestic divine power emanating from the strongest warrior. Jiangli did not make a move. Instead, he was observing. He wanted to see how much power the strongest warrior had left behind. Now, it seemed that it was indeed powerful. I'll get rid of these envoy of annihilation. They are good nourishment. Jiangli was about to make a move. Suddenly, a little light appeared here. Then, the light kept expanding. Damn it! Seeing this light, Jiangli knew that Yuanshir's maid had appeared again. This was the power of the undying magic lamp. Last time, he did not obtain any benefits from fighting the maid. But later, he fought the martial ancestor and Wang Chao against the third universe's heaven's will. He increased his strength again and obtained a supreme divine ability. If he met this woman again, he would definitely have the upper hand. However, this light was extremely fast and contained great luck. It seemed to be the luck of the son of destiny and the son of Permitha. It was one Qinxiu and Xianyuan Bian working together to activate the undying magic lamp. The two's cultivation had skyrocketed. It was unknown how many envoy of annihilation they had devoured, even a 9-son envoy. Now, not only had they stepped into the great emperor realm, they had also far surpassed the other great emperors. In the past, the heavenly dipper and earthly fiend great emperors were the strongest great emperors. But compared to the son of destiny and the son of Permitha, they were world apart. It was very difficult for these two to advance, but after they did, their cultivation would be very strong. It was enough to describe them as abnormal. When they became great emperors, they could directly compete with existences that surpassed great emperors. Their aptitude was much better than Jiangli's. How could the son of destiny and the son of Permitha be trivial? The three worked together to activate the undying magic lamp. In an instant, the layers of black shadow envoy of annihilation were all absorbed into the lamp's flame. Then they landed on the altar. Night Ancestral Dragon, come out! The voice of Yuanshi's maid came from the lamp. Then Night Ancestral Dragon came out. She was the mother of Dragon World. Now, she had turned into a small dragon and attached herself to the body of the son of Dragon World. Then, she fused with the son of Dragon World. Strongest warrior, I know that your heroic spirit is still here. Yuanshi's maid said, this time, I came on Yuanshi's will. The union of the son of Dragon World and the son of Martial World will give birth to a fetus. That fetus will be the strongest warrior. You can rely on this strongest warrior to reincarnate. Chapter 9:11. Yuanshi's maid had interfered again, and the price she had to pay was the sacrifice of the Night Ancestral Dragon. The Night Ancestral Dragon was a key figure in Dragon World, and the strongest warrior was also the most important figure in the martial world. Now that the strongest warrior was about to reincarnate, he had to use the power of the son of the martial world and the son of the dragon world to create a great figure, unify the dragon world and the martial world, and then carry out a world-shaking great undertaking. However, this power wasn't enough. Therefore, Yuanshi's maid sent the Night Ancestral Dragon. She was the dragon matriarch, and her body contained the richest source of Dragon World. Naturally, she could accomplish great things. As expected, the Night Ancestral Dragon fused into the body of the son of Dragon World, and immediately the fetus began to grow and develop. Emissary of annihilation, become food. Heavenly King Primordial Beginnings handmaiden waved the undying god lamp again, causing even more emissaries of extermination to appear. They surged forward, but were caught in the net she had set up. Then, these emissaries turned into pure source energy and were injected into the fetus. The fetus opened its eyes, which were blazing with flames that seemed capable of burning the Grand Mist battlefield. Large amounts of origin energy were sucked into the fetus, and the Grand Mist battlefield began to shake. At the very least, space-time around Jiangli collapsed. This was a sign of energy being extracted. The origin energy in the Grand Mist battlefield was chaotic, and space-time could shift at any time. However, it was a place where violent energy gathered. If he could collect it, it wouldn't be a bad thing. However, collecting and subduing this violent energy was very difficult. Jiangli didn't want to do it because the human world couldn't settle down. But now this fetus actually possessed such power and profundity. As the fetus grew, the strongest warrior began to shrink, as if all the energy had entered the fetus body. The son of Dragon World and the son of Martial World also shrank, like praying mantises dying after mating. All their life essence was injected into the fetus. At that time, the fetus would become a new individual, an individual that gathered all the advantages of life. Of course, the son of Dragon World and the son of Martial World, the strongest warrior, Night Ancestral Dragon, didn't die. They just fused into a new individual. This was the fusion of universes and universes. Once the tribulation was over, they would be resurrected. However, after the fusion, they would go silent, allowing the newly born will to dominate the entire body, the endless wisdom and energy. Good heavens! Zhongli watched on, but didn't stop them. He knew that if he did, Wan Qianxiu, Xianyuan Bian, and Yuanshi's handmaidens would stop him. By now, Xianyuan Bian and Xianyuan Wanxiu had already matured. In addition to the undying god lamp and Yuanshi's maid's endless methods, there would definitely be a series of vicious attacks. And that wasn't all. The divine power left behind by the strongest martial artist was no small matter. He didn't want to exhaust his energy to fight a great battle at this critical juncture. Instead, he wanted to wait and see, because he knew that this was a heaven-defying action. The primal chaos wouldn't allow it, and there would be even stronger world annihilation emissaries coming. Good. Strongest warrior, you've achieved your goal. During your reincarnation, you've fused with the son of Dragon World and the son of Martial World, Night Ancestral Dragon, and obtained rebirth. That Night Ancestral Dragon was prepared by me for you, so we formed an indissoluble bond. Let the new fetus be born. Yuanshi's maid suddenly said, Wan Qianxiu, Xianyuan Bian, inject your blood into the fetus. When the time comes, it will also be connected to you. This is an investment, an entanglement of karma, and it will be used by you. I've taken a look, and the mortal world is your greatest enemy. Sooner or later, it will come to devour you. Now that you've controlled the fetus of the strongest martial artist, although it will consume your essence blood, you definitely won't suffer a loss. Good. Wan Qianxiu and Xianyuan Bian seemed to have already thought it through. They suddenly moved, and blood-colored rainbows rushed out of their bodies and entered the body of the fetus. At this time, the strongest martial artist, the son of Dragon World and the son of Martial World, Night Ancestral Dragon, had completely disappeared, and all of his vital qi had entered the body of the fetus. The fetus's divine ability was rising steadily, and in an instant, it had become an existence surpassing the great emperor. Originally, the body of the strongest martial artist contained the origin of time, so it was very normal for it to surpass the great emperor. Moreover, the potential of the strongest martial artist was far more than that. As someone who could compete with Yuanshi in the past, his cultivation was not lower than any of the three Permitha venerables. From this, it could be seen how vigorous his body was, especially since the fetus had absorbed many world annihilation emissaries. In this way, the power and luck of the fetus would be unrivaled. Ha! Just as the fetus was about to be born, suddenly, two experts flew through the air. It was two people, and they also sprayed out blood-colored rainbows, injecting their blood into the fetus body for it to absorb. It was actually Crown Prince Great Dream and Jiang Nalan. As soon as Jiang Nalan appeared, she laughed. Why didn't you inform us about the fetus produced by the son of Martial World and the son of Dragon World? Fortunately, we knew all the secrets and came immediately. Otherwise, we would have missed this event of the ages. Yes, we also want a share of this matter. Crown Prince Great Dream also laughed and injected his blood seed into the fetus, so that the fetus would also have his bloodline. Rumble. In this instant, the void shook and the primordial battlefield actually broke open. Endless divine light flew out, and at the end of the divine light was the 99-story ship. At the top of the ship, the three experts sent their blood essence and vital qi into the body of the fetus. They all wanted to seize control of the fetus. Damn it, even the Permitha venerables are interfering. How did the three Permitha venerables know about this place? Yuanshi's maid was a little angry. In that case, Myriad World, Celestial Sphere. She was praying. Immediately, in the depths of the three-dimensional universe, the Myriad World Celestial Sphere also spun, and the divine light it shot out was also injected into the body of the fetus. The fetus was actually silent after being injected with so much power. However, Zhongli felt that it was inappropriate. He did not make a move, and he would not inject his blood into the fetus in an attempt to control it. He felt that the situation was probably already out of control. Right now, he could only wait and see. The big bosses all made a move to seize control of the fetus, causing several tyrannical powers to clash and tear in the body of the fetus. It was very likely that the fetus would be destroyed. Of course, it was also possible that the fetus would become extremely strong. In any case, Zhongli did not intend to interfere, because now that things had come to this, he could no longer proceed according to his plan. Crown Prince Great Dream, Jiang Nalan, the three Permitha Venerables, and Yuanshir's maid had all made a move. Zhongli felt that it was very likely that the situation was far more than that. As expected, his thoughts were confirmed. In the depths of the primordial battlefield, the void realm opened up, and endless chaos could be seen. At the end of the void, pitch-black light of destruction suddenly shone from the depths of the chaos. Without any effort, it had already reached the fetus. Instantly, the fetus body turned pitch-black, and it was demonized, as though it was about to be transformed into an envoy of destruction. The chaos finally made a move. The envoy of destruction began to descend from the chaos to kill the fetus, but it did not succeed. Therefore, in for a penny, in for a pound, in for a pound. It turned the fetus into an envoy of destruction himself. The mighty power instantly crushed all the powers that had fused together. Even the Permitha Venerables, Yuanshir's maid, and Crown Prince Great Dream could do nothing about it. However, the divine light that shot out from the myriad world celestial sphere became more and more intense. It seemed as though Yuanshir himself was training this child to prevent him from turning into an envoy of destruction. This child had not yet been born, but he already possessed the divine abilities of the strongest warriors, the dragon world ancestral dragon, the son of the martial world, and the son of the night ancestral dragon. Now, he had even fused the bloodlines of the son of destiny and the son of the Permitha Venerables. He had also obtained the bloodline power of the Great Dream Crown Prince and Jiang Nalan. Furthermore, he had received the infusion of the three venerables of the Permitha Venerables, and even the distortion of the myriad world celestial sphere. This could be said to be a true heaven's favored one. Whether it was being transformed into an envoy of destruction or being nurtured into a human, he was the most terrifying existence. But from the depths of the fetus came the melodious sound of a bell. It seemed thought-provoking, but also like the knell of death. He received an endless infusion of power. Sometimes he would turn into an envoy of destruction, and other times he would turn into a human. He was somewhat similar to Ju, but he was many times stronger than Ju. Zhongli even knew that when this child was born, he might surpass him. The depths of the myriad world celestial sphere were still pouring power into the fetus, and the black light of the primal chaos shone brightly. The other powerful forces were also fighting with all their might. Zhongli felt that the others were already riding a tiger, unable to back down. Fortunately, he didn't make a move. The fetus grew stronger and stronger, but cracks appeared on its body, as if it was about to explode. Even Zhang Li's human world couldn't withstand such a powerful infusion of power. Even if the human world and immortal world combined, it would still explode, leaving nothing behind. This fetus will explode and die. There's no other way. Zhongli shook his head and prepared to leave. If this place exploded, even he would be affected, and the martial world and dragon world would suffer heavy losses. It was a good time for him to clean up the mess and seize the best opportunity. Just as he was about to leave, a ball of light shot out from the depths of the primal chaos. It was as dazzling as lightning. It was the divine light of regeneration, the complete opposite of the primal chaos. But it came from the depths of the primal chaos. Zhongli abruptly turned his head. He knew that the situation had changed. The bright light entered the fetus, and the cracks on its body healed instantly. Then it pushed outwards. Wow! A cry shook the myriad worlds, and even the river and the void surged. Then the fetus turned into a baby and was finally born. The fetus was actually activated by the light in the depths of the primal chaos. It absorbed all the power and fused it into a furnace, turning into a new existence. It was so big that it seemed like the king of the universe had descended and the lord of the three realms had appeared. Destiny swept through everything, suppressing all the heavenly devils. The baby grew rapidly, turning into a child. Then, he grew even more until he became a youth. Only then did he stabilize, and his clothes condensed. You all want to control me, but I absorbed your power and broke free of your control. The king of the universe is born. Now, you can wait for me to rule the myriad worlds. The youth suddenly moved and disappeared into thin air. Chapter 9:12. Jiangli was startled. This person didn't show his prowess, but fled instead. It was obvious that he was aware of the situation. Although he had come out, his power wasn't stable yet. If it was stable, this person would show his prowess, and few could suppress him. Follow this person. He didn't make a move until now. Now he finally found an opportunity. His body moved slightly and turned into a formless incantation, following that person and leaving. He firmly locked onto that person's aura. Not only that, he poured his will into the Void World's river to constantly monitor the surroundings to prevent that person from escaping. He decided to have a good talk with this person to see if he was a threat to the human world. He hoped that they could work together to achieve their goals. If this person wanted to destroy the human world, then he would have to suppress this person. Although he might not be able to suppress this person now, he had a trump card. However, if this person was allowed to grow, it would be a huge problem. This person's figure wandered and disappeared from the primordial battlefield, but he didn't leave this place. In fact, the primordial battlefield was the best place to hide. Time and space were reversed here. Even great sovereigns wouldn't be able to see through it. There were also countless ancient ruins and treasures, as well as primordial grand formations. Even existences surpassing great sovereigns wouldn't dare to provoke them. In the primordial battlefield, countless primordial almighties were buried here. The immortal spirits formed a killing formation that could overturn, devour, and crush everything. When Jiangli passed by, he saw many killing formations. He didn't dare to go too deep, fearing that he would be trapped. Yet, this person was doing it with ease. This person had the form of a young man. He had the aura of the dragon world, martial world, night ancestral dragon, the strongest expert, Destiny's child, Prometheus, three venerables, Yuan-Shi, the primordial chaos, and even the heavenly father. The bloodlines of countless experts were fused together. Moreover, the light that shot out from the primordial chaos wasn't from the primordial chaos itself. Something had happened in the depths of the primordial chaos. It might have been shot out by a freak. However, the freak that shot out this time wasn't Flickering Monarch's freak. It was another freak that was much stronger, fiercer, and more ferocious than Flickering Monarch's freak. It seemed that there wasn't just one freak in the depths of the primal chaos. Instead, there were many of them. From the looks of it, there were many tumors growing inside the primal chaos, and all of them were severely affecting the will of the primal chaos. This was a good thing for Jiangli. Chaos could not be defeated, but the problem that arose from itself was that he was at his weakest. If he could seize the opportunity, he would be able to transcend chaos forever and not fear the end of the world. Of course, the person in front of them was also the key. Many wills chased after him, also not letting him go. Those experts poured their power into this youth's body, but he actually ran, severing all of their bloodlines. She could no longer control him. Instead, she strengthened him. These people had suffered a double loss. How could they bear it? Jiangli felt that what he had done this time couldn't be more correct. He hadn't been greedy and had sent in his vital energy. That way, he would be in an invincible position. That was because it was very likely that this youth would use his bloodline as karma to unleash a curse that would ambush and plot against those people. It was obvious that this youth was not a kind-hearted person. When he left, he said that he would come back to unify the 10,000 worlds. That was a great ambition. Jiangli firmly locked onto him. He didn't reveal himself and let the other experts chase after this youth. Although this youth was strong, he had already angered everyone. It wouldn't be so easy for him to escape. At least, Chaos was watching him. Countless powerful wills chased after him. Crackle. Even the primordial battlefield was plowed deeply, and the space-time maze was smashed into pieces. Those big shots had poured their bloodlines into the youth's body. Naturally, there was karma, and they could use the bloodline to find that youth. Unless the youth settled down and cultivated for a long time to refine his bloodline like Jiang Li, creating a brand new great Tao and forming his own bloodline, only then would he be able to dissolve the other bloodlines. In reality, Jiang Li also had the bloodlines of the Child of Destiny and the Child of Permitha. He even had the bloodlines of Yuan Shi and the Heavenly Father. However, he had refined them all and turned them into infinite bloodlines. Now, there was no karma or aura. If this youth settled down like him, they would be really terrifying. Whoosh! The wills tore apart the primordial battlefield and even the ancient ruins. The youth was shaken, and his body appeared again. He had nowhere to run. Humph! You people want to control me, but I have absorbed all your bloodlines and energy. I have successfully evolved and become one of the strongest beings. Now that you are not satisfied and want to deal with me, it is just wishful thinking. The youth raised his arms high. Suddenly, the brilliance condensed into a sphere, wrapping him within. Ding, ding, dang, dang. None of the attacks could pierce through his brilliance. At that moment, great Dream Crown Prince, Wan Qinxiu, Jiang Nalan, Xin Yuan Bian, and Yuan Shi's maidservants also rushed over and surrounded him. From the depths of the Void Realm, the Permitha also descended with its power, turning into a human figure. It was a combination of pure energy, blue like the sky. It paced around, waiting for an opportunity to capture the youth and bring him back to the Permitha. Other than that, a large number of emissaries of destruction seemed to have gathered again. The depths of chaos were brewing to form an even stronger emissary of destruction. Don't go. I can protect you. Yuan Shi's maidservant came to the youth's side, but did not attack. Come, enter my magic lamp. Let's cultivate together and fight against the chaos calamity. Ha ha. The youth laughed. You are Yuan Shi's maidservant. Unfortunately, Yuan Shi and I are enemies. I was the strongest warrior in the past, and I know what you are up to. You want to collect all those with great luck and wait for Yuan Shi's return. Then, you'll create beings for him to take over and reincarnate. Do you think I don't know? Yuan Shi planned twice. Two of the people who took over and reincarnated. One was Wang Chao, but he miscalculated. The other was the ruler of the human world, Jiang Li. Unfortunately, things seemed to have gotten out of his control. So, as the third step of the plan, you started to rope in the Son of Destiny and the Son of the Permitha. When the time comes, the two of them will merge and form a new body that can withstand Yuan Shi's power. Of course, if you can bring me along, then the three of us can merge. Then, we will be able to bear Yuan Shi's power perfectly. How can I do that? Yuan Shi's maidservant was expressionless. I know very well what kind of person Yuan Shi is. He could destroy all worlds to carry out his will. But this is a necessary quality for a big shot, so there is nothing wrong with it. Everyone is just fighting for the edge. The youth snorted. Son of Destiny, Son of the Permitha, follow me. We are all brothers. If we unite, we can unify all worlds and suppress Yuan Shi's maidservant. From her, we can dig out the secrets of Yuan Shi. What do you think? What I am saying is the truth. If you follow her, you will be devoured by Yuan Shi in the end. Just now, Yuan Shi's aura appeared in the myriad world's celestial sphere and entered my body so that my body can be reincarnated in the future. Now you two are asking a tiger for its skin. Why don't you fight back? I am a newly born being, so I am no threat to you. But Yuan Shi is unfathomable. Wan Qinxiu and Xin Yuan Bian were convinced. Although the two of them had joined the maidservant's side, they weren't sincere. They were just borrowing her power. They knew very well that if one was unaccountably solicitous, one must be hiding evil intentions. The primordial heavenly king of primordial beginning wanted to reincarnate, so he needed a body with great luck. Their luck reached the heavens and earth, and even Luo Feng, the son of the immortal world, couldn't compare. Together with the youth, the three of them would most likely succeed and Yuanshi would descend. The two of them immediately had thoughts of rebellion. "Don't listen to their nonsense," the maidservant said anxiously. "Let's work together to control the lamp." She hadn't expected the youth to be able to persuade Wan Qinxiu and Xianyuan Bian. "Crown Prince Great Dream, Jiang Nalan, why don't you join me as well? Jiang Nalan, your heavenly father's pawn. The day Yuanshi's treasure is opened is the day you die. You've been struggling, but after absorbing your blood, I can sense what you're thinking. That's why we're working together. We're absolutely sincere, and we won't scheme against each other. Crown Prince Great Dream, you're the same. Do you want to destroy the human world? I can join you too. We're all youths with great destinies, and we should rule the world." The youth spread his arms in a hugging gesture. Jiang Nalan stared fixedly at this youth. He also knew that this youth was abnormally powerful and had already reached an unimaginable level. Although he had inherited the remains of the Heavenly Father, there were still some powers that he couldn't display. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been beaten up by Jiang Li and forced to run around. "I know you're worried because of the third universe. In reality, it hasn't truly reincarnated yet. It's a body it created by itself, and it doesn't have great destinies to bear its power. That's why it's looking for you too. It's scheming. The moment Heavenly Father devours you, it'll be Heavenly Father's weakest moment. Then it'll take over and devour Heavenly Father. I know all of this." The youth continued to tempt them. "Work with me, and we'll be able to devour Heavenly Father the moment Yuanshi's treasure is opened. We might even be able to devour the third universe as well, because Heavenly Father will both suffer great losses. Only I know the details." "How do you know?" Jiang Nalan was puzzled. "I've said it before, I'm the reincarnation of the strongest martial artist. Back then, the strongest martial artist fought against Yuanshi and Heavenly Father. I know everything about Heavenly Father, and I even know a thing or two about the secret of primal chaos. I'm an omnipotent and omniscient existence since ancient times. Only I can help you. Otherwise, with your current cultivation, you'll definitely die. You're not a match for Heavenly Father, and you're not a match for the third universe's heaven's will," the youth said confidently. "All right, since that's the case, I'll work with you." Jiang Nalan already had ulterior motives, so she didn't mind. Chapter 9:13. Jiang Nalan was a fence-sitter. He was originally afraid of the third dimension universe's will, so he had to do things for it. Now that the third young man was fighting with Jiang Li, it seemed that because of the chaos, and because he didn't find a body with great luck, he disappeared. He didn't know how long it would take for him to form a body again. Now, Jiang Nalan was free. He could do whatever he wanted. He could see that the third dimension universe's will was plotting against him. Heavenly Father was plotting against him. Even Yuanshi was plotting against him. Other than that, there was also the great enemy, Jiang Li. It was so dangerous. It was better to find an ally. Although the young man in front of him might not be reliable, he could be used to keep him in check. It was better than fighting alone. He immediately joined the young man's side. Crown Prince Great Dream thought about it. Naturally, he would advance and retreat together with Jiang Nalan. He shouted, "Since you have my bloodline, it's natural for us to work together. How about we become brothers? Let's advance and retreat together." "That's great," the young man said. The youth said, "Since that's the case, then let's become sworn brothers and live and die together. Only by linking our karmic luck together can we be invincible and sweep through everything. I'm the strongest martial artist, so I'll be the big brother." "I'll be the second brother," Crown Prince Great Dream said. "If that's the case, I can only be the third brother." Jiang Nalan didn't care about his ranking. It was just a gimmick to unite. "Okay, then the three of us will become sworn brothers," the young man said. "Wan Qinxiu, Xianyuan Bian, what do you think? If you're like fire, our fates will be linked together. We'll immediately become the strongest force in the heavens. Not only that, I'll also inherit the fates of the dragon world and the martial world. When I go back, I'll control the two worlds and achieve great merit. Then, I'll subdue the heaven world of justice and attack the human world and the celestial world together. I'll make Permitha surrender. Instead of becoming Yuanshi's pawns, why don't you be brothers? I'm not asking you to join me. We're all brothers." That's good. One more brother is better than one more enemy. Xin Yuan Bien and Wan Qinqiu flew over. Then will be the fourth brother and fifth brother. Thousand Autumns, Xin Yuan Higan. Yuanshi's maidservant said anxiously, "Don't be fooled by this person. He's using your destiny to do something else. Anyway, it's just another brother." Wan Qinqiu's expression was calm. "We should still work together. I think you should come as well. Let's work together." "No, he's Yuanshi's enemy. He definitely doesn't have any good intentions," the maid hurriedly said. "Didn't you say that as long as it's not the envoy of destruction, everyone can cooperate sincerely? Why can't he do it now?" Xin Yuan Byron was confused. Is he telling the truth? You nurtured us so that Yuanshi would treat us as a shelter so that he could reincarnate? How is that possible? Yuanshi won't steal anyone's body. The maid's expression turned serious. Don't listen to the nonsense of the king of the human world. Other than that, don't believe this person's words either. He has been infused with power by the chaos. He himself might be influenced by the chaos and become a messenger of destruction. Ha! The young man laughed. This is the funniest joke I've heard in my life. I'm actually a messenger of destruction. Back in the day, I knew that you were loyal and devoted to Heavenly King Primordial Beginning. Later, you died, and now you're reincarnated. This is one of Yuanshi's many plans. Even if the will of the third universe wants to reincarnate, it needs the body of someone with great luck. Jiang Nailin is the best candidate, and Yuanshi has chosen many others. Wan Qinqiu and Xin Yuan Byron are just two of them. This can't be hidden anymore. Jiang Nailin is the Heavenly Father's shelter, so she should know this very well. That's right. Xin Yuan Byron, Wan Qinqiu, don't believe this woman. The Heavenly Father is treating me as a reincarnation. It's the same for you. Yuanshi's power is too great, and his body can't support it. He needs someone with great luck. Jiang Nailin said darkly, I think we should suppress this woman, refine her, and take the immortal magic lamp for our foundation. There's no need. She also has great luck. She's also the key to opening Yuanshi's treasury. We just need to subdue her, said the youth. You two are so ungrateful. The maid said, Wan Qinqiu, Xin Yuan Byron, you were raised by me to reach your current realm. Now you want to betray me? Aren't you afraid of affecting your luck? She was angry, but she also knew that the situation was hopeless. Although the immortal magic lamp was in her hands, she only had 1/3 of the control. The rest was in the hands of Wan Qinqiu and Xin Yuan Byron. If those two went against her, then with the youth transformed from the strongest warrior, Jiang Nailin, and Wan Qinqiu, she would be in grave danger. Everyone, listen to me. At this moment, the glowing blue figure who had been silent all this while finally spoke. The blue man was the manifestation of the vital energy and will of the 3 paragons of the Permethal world. He had wanted to crush the young man, but now he couldn't. The young man had recruited Xin Yuan Permethal, and the 3 paragons of the Permethal world couldn't do anything to him. Xin Yuan Byron's status was the same as Luo Feng's status in the world of immortals. As long as one was born in the world of immortals, no matter how strong they were, they couldn't attack Luo Feng. Xin Yuan Byron was the same. Even the attacks of the 3 paragons were useless against him. Paragons, what do you have to say? Asked the youth. I think we can turn weapons of war into gifts of jade and silk. There's no need to fight. Although she's Yuanshi's maid, she's still an individual with great luck. Once Yuanshi's treasury comes out, she'll get the lion's share. In fact, you can't suppress her right now, because if you do, the myriad world's celestial sphere will shoot out energy to save her. She's one of Yuanshi's trump cards, so we won't be able to expose her. I don't know you, paragons of the 3 paragons. Laughing coldly, he said, back when I was born, you schemed against me. You wanted to refine me into your bodies so you could share my destiny. That way, you could take control of Permethal. But the 3 of you schemed against each other. You wanted to consume me and take control of Permethal. That was how I managed to escape. Nirvana is mine, and you 3 must submit to me. Ha ha! The blue man burst out laughing. You talk big. The 3 of us contributed a lot to Nirvana's creation. You're the spirit automaton of our magical treasure, so you should belong to us. How dare you try to usurp the throne? You're our son, Xinyuan Byron. Do you understand? How dare you threaten us? Ha ha! Xinyuan Byron laughed even louder. What a joke. Nirvana is the strongest form born in the depths of primal chaos. It transcends everything. You think you can create it with your own methods? All you did was decorate it with spell formations. That's why you're Nirvana's people. Everything you have belongs to Nirvana. Nirvana raised you. You're so stubborn, said the blue man. He was the will of the three paragons of the three paragons. Do you really think we can't capture you, Xinyuan Byron? All we have to do is offer sacrifices to Nirvana, and we'll be able to summon you back. Nirvana's will is already under our control. When that happens, you'll die. Three paragons of the Nirvana realm. You're all fools. I'm Destiny, and I control the River of Destiny. The Nirvana realm has its own destiny, and Xinyuan Nirvana and I are united. We transcend everything. We cultivate together, and in the end, we'll control the Nirvana realm. Wan Qinxiu was very protective of Xinyuan Byron. The two of them had been mortal enemies, but after cultivating together, they realized that they were virtually invincible. Their cultivation bases had advanced by leaps and bounds, and their fated enemy had been created by the brain of the universe and the Deathless Tower. Actually, there was no need for them to fight, and so they became brothers. The two of them were inseparable now. If they joined forces, their destiny would be 10,000 times more powerful than that of Heavenly Dipper and Earthly Fiend. If they both evolved to become existences surpassing great emperors, they would have to admit defeat. Child of Destiny, do you really want to be enemies with Nirvana? Asked the blue man. I'll kill anyone who dares to oppose my brother, said Wan Qinxiu resolutely. That's right. I'll kill anyone who dares to oppose my brother. The youth spoke. He was the eldest, and his cultivation was the strongest. He had gathered countless bloodlines, and he was also the strongest warrior. He had even fused with the son of the martial world and the son of the dragon world. He had obtained the blessing of the primordial heavenly king, a freak from the depths of the primordial chaos. He was already in existence that was close to the level of a giant. Now that great dream crown prince, Jiang Nailan, Xinyuan Bian, and Wan Qinxiu had all pledged their allegiance to him. He no longer feared anyone. Strongest martial artist, are you going to go against us, the otherworld heavenly king? The blue figure shouted. I want to unify the myriad worlds and carry out my great cause. You Nirvana also want to unify the myriad worlds and use them as sacrifices to yourselves. At the same time, you want to exchange with the chaos in an attempt to prolong this calamity and look for opportunities in the next calamity. I know that you might have reached an agreement with the chaos and want to eliminate existences with great destinies like the World Destroyer Emissary. Am I right? The young man said disdainfully. Nirvana is just a bunch of cowards. You don't dare to confront the chaos head-on, so you want to harm the people here. I think you're the ones who should be eliminated the most. All right, I don't think we should fight against the chaos. Let's find a key point first. Right now, the most important thing to fight against the chaos is Yuanshi's treasure. The blue man didn't want to waste time with the young man. We can temporarily unite and destroy the human world. What do you think? You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.